Someone make it make sense.
Probably a couple.
Hello, hello. I hope everyone's having a great day today. Let's get some music going here. There we go. Some night driving. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Tuesday. It feels like a Wednesday for some reason. What do you guys think? Is it a Tuesday or a Wednesday? No, it's a Tuesday because you know what? We had a half day in court, Karen Reed today, didn't we? Boy, that was something. Yeah, can't wait to hear y'all's thoughts on that. It was a whole thing. Wow, I have a lot to say. I'm sure you guys do also. And I know there's like so much going on right now, y'all, with like Chad's trial. And I know there's like all kinds of people covering Karen Reed. And I'm sure Runkle's doing a recap tonight. I mean, I haven't even had time to look, but I would assume so. And so I don't actually, for anyone who's here, thank you. Replay crew, thank you. I'm just doing these anyway, because otherwise, like if I try to do these when no one else is doing something, I don't think it'll happen, because there's just like, it's like trial all day and then everyone's doing the rest of it in the evening. And plus I also work. So, and I want to try to stay caught up. So I know that it's, it's a sacrifice of other things, of time to be here. So I appreciate you guys if you do choose to watch. But yeah, so I've got a couple different things here. Let me get these pulled up. Hi, Candace. Happy to see you. Oops, that's all caps. We do have a new command as well. If anyone wants to do ! Cup. Where is... Here we go. Oh, I need to add that to... Okay, give me just a sec. Let me add it to my video. Yes, hold on. Okay, let me get that loaded. Okay, let me see if I have it. Okay. All right, let's see. Cup. Thanks, Nightbot.
You would use a solo cup.
I'm sorry, what?
Objection, Your Honor.
Solo cup.
I didn't realize we would keep playing the music, but now we have that ready to go. I just wanted to make sure I had it all queued up, so we can have that. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about. I specifically had an answer to a question from someone who was here last night, Need Some Z's. So I guess I will wait to answer her question regarding the phones when she comes. Hopefully she will. And if not, then I will wait until whenever it is. But I also wanted to say that today was so insane. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, really, the level of fuckery and weaseling and attitude and trying to outsmart rivaled Murdoch. Now, I would say that Jen McCabe's not as good at it, but it's interesting because she's also not charged with a crime, but she also seems to have like more to hide in a way. It's really interesting. It was a weird thing. But it was such a dumpster fire in a good way that I don't even care. I know EDB actually, it's not scheduled yet, but I don't remember her saying she would be late tomorrow. So I assume it's going to be on time. But again, my thought is like, normally I would, if I'm available, I would be watching it on her channel. and she's probably going to be streaming it. However, I have already scheduled it. I'm going to stream it. I don't even care if nobody watches because I just want to do it, because literally I'm at the point where it's like, even if I'm watching it with like other commentary, I'm still commenting on it and like pausing it so I can like finish my own sentence. Anyway, it's just so silly. So it's like, because it's just like so crazy. And even if nobody's there, it'll be good practice for me, because I really enjoyed doing that last time for the live trial. And it is good practice for, if I ever want to try to do, if I ever have the time and ability to do like a full trial gavel to gavel, the way EDB does, I would totally do that. But since I've only done this one day, like, I don't know, so it'll be fun. So I'm going to do that. I mean, I don't know how long I'll be able to stay, but hopefully finish Jen McCabe's cross and maybe start some of Carrie Roberts. And I don't know if you guys remember, I had a hunch many episodes ago, when we first started hearing about Carrie Roberts, I had a hunch. I think it might have been when Matt McCabe first came on direct. Wait, hold on. Is that today's video? Oh my God, time feels so weird with all this. Maybe that's today's video. But right. But we first saw the testimony though. Right. Would have been a week ago. So I had a hunch when I first started hearing them talk about Carrie Roberts, I had a hunch that they were going to throw her under the bus. I was like, wow, we've heard very little about her, but now all of a sudden they're talking about her. And I remember even saying out loud, like, boy, I wonder if they're going to have to call her to the stand. And boy, did I have no idea. I mean, that's literally exactly what's happening. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's really crazy. Because no one else has really talked about her at all. The other thing that I kind of predicted correctly which was funny, was I know I timestamped it. I might have been 2 episodes ago, but I know I timestamped it. But it was in relation to, I'd been saying for many episodes, I had been saying that it's like, I know there are way too many people. Carrie Roberts, like, she's really, even if you've watched the whole trial, she's really not talked about very much. That's why it's fun. That's why it's like, wow, there's another new character that is like, seems like they're gonna have to testify. So she was like, I mean, we don't know that much about her. She wasn't at the bar or anything with the group, right? From what I know, she basically showed up at some point. She wasn't even at the house after. Somehow she showed up and met up with Karen when they were looking for John's body. I don't even know the full story because, again, that hasn't really come in yet that I recall. And so that's more like a backstory thing. And I haven't done any of that, as you guys know. So from what I know, like, she was there when they did the 911 call when they found the body, but she wasn't with the rest of the group that night, I don't think. Like, she definitely wasn't at the house and she definitely wasn't at the bar, because we would know. So at some point, like, the part that we still haven't heard as much about, but we will hear about it when we get to Jen's testimony in the recap, because they didn't have a way to lay the foundation for everything that happens after 34 Fairview, right? So essentially what happens after this time in question, 2:00 a.m., that was still kind of a mystery for the most part in terms of what does Karen do, right? Because we know it's sort of been vague. And so that finally started to come in a little bit with Jen's testimony, which we will be getting to not on this recap, but on the next recap. And talking about, her, because it's like these 3 girls, right? And it's like Jen, Karen, and Carrie are the ones who are going looking for John and find the body. And oh my God, dude, I know. Hey, I have an answer for your question. Let me finish my thought here though. And so Carrie Roberts, like, I don't know, Needs and Teas, do you want to chime in? How would you describe Carrie Roberts for Candace? Because she's really kind of a new character. So I was just sort of saying she really only shows up on the scene when they go to look for the body and call 911 and stuff, because she wasn't involved with them in any of the other events. But we really don't know a whole lot about her, except according to Jen McCabe, which take that with a grain of salt, she is a real talker and spilled the beans and basically told the investigators or law enforcement everything, quote unquote, right? So her testimony is going to be really interesting, but they are really trying to throw her under the bus. That's my opinion. But yeah, let me know if Needs some Z's, if you have any ideas. So I have an answer to your question, though. I did some research since last night about the phones. So here's the deal with the feds and the phones. I'm glad you popped up, because I even said, oh, I have an answer to your question. So when it comes to the feds and the phones, because they've rehomed their phones, they rehomed their phones. So this would be the same if you just do like a factory reset, right? The difference that makes it more difficult when you rehome the phone is there's a factory reset and now you don't have possession of the phone. So here's the deal with an iPhone. If you do a factory reset, it's possible for the feds or, forensic people to recover the data. It's possible. It's really, there's not a hard and fast way to do it yet, as we kind of know, because we've seen there's a lot of trial and error, right? We saw that in Murdoch. I'm so glad that Wifey's here. This makes my heart happy. And so, but here's the thing. They need the phone in order to do it. So the challenge for the feds or for any law enforcement agency or what have you lies in the fact that if it's been factory reset and then rehomed the way that all these people did, they don't have possession of the phone. They have to track the phone down. So as long as they have the phone, there's still a chance. So hopefully that answers your question, Needs some Z's. That was what the research I was able to find. That was what I saw. So, yeah. Again, so I'm going to be doing the trial tomorrow live at 9:15 because this was insane. This was insane. This y'all, I timestamped it. Okay, the video from last night, this is so silly. I'm like halfway done with timestamps, so it's like really stupid because I like to be really precise and get really specific with the timestamps. So they're like half done, right? But of the ones that are done, there is a timestamp for me last night predicting this cross-examination. And it's really funny because I was doing these timestamps after I watched the first part of this cross-examination. And I was going through doing timestamps. And my prediction was that we were actually, I can actually show you exactly what it was. We were seeing this exact picture last night on this slide. And I was looking at this picture and I said, guys, my prediction is that by this time tomorrow, those walls are going to be covered with blood or covered with Jen McCabe's blood. And that was an understatement. I don't even know. I'm beside myself. Don't worry, DSN. We just got started. I'm so happy to see you. We have got some fun new commands as well. Hold on. Night driving. Quiet, you night driving.
Hey, he's got a bird in his mouth.
This is a chicken.
And if anyone wants to do exclamation point cup, we have a new one as well. Oh, wait, yes, thank you. Where'd it go? Where's It's a Guinea? Hold on, do I not have It's a Guinea yet? Or did it, I thought I had It's a Guinea. Weird. I don't have It's a Guinea somehow. That's weird. I have them all separate. So I've got It's a House. These are their names that I have them listed as. It's a house. He's got a bird, chicken, and there's no guinea, which is interesting. Yay. Okay, here. Let's see the new one. Fun times.
You would use a solo cup.
I'm sorry, what? Objection, Your Honor.
Solo cup.
Let's watch it again.
You would use a solo cup.
I'm sorry, what? Objection, Your Honor.
Solo cup.
And I don't know if everyone has seen the 22 seconds, so let's watch that one for fun as well.
That call is actually from Brian Higgins to you, isn't it?
Yes.
Obviously, you know how long 22 seconds is.
What's that?
You know how long 22 seconds lasts.
Yes.
We've learned a lot about time.
You would use a solo cup.
I'm sorry, what? Objection, Your Honor.
Solo cup.
Dude, Jen, this is such an understatement to me. It was like worse than a nature program where the lion is tearing apart some sort of baby animal carcass, something, the type of thing I can't watch. You know what I mean? I've never, literally, 5 minutes in, okay, that's not even accurate. From the first sentence in, my jaw was on the floor and I was literally like, what is happening? And it just kept going. Oh my God. Dude. It's really interesting. Oh, really? So what was your thoughts, DSN? That's interesting. Tomorrow, in case anybody missed it, I can't remember who was here, but I'm going to be doing it live tomorrow as well. I'm going to be going live tomorrow for court at like 9:10 or 9:15 or whatever. I don't think it's scheduled yet. However, to my knowledge, EDB will still be streaming. And I normally would be watching that, as y'all know. But what I was saying before is like, I found that even today, like I didn't actually expect to have time to listen to it, but I had a couple students have to move, so I did. And I'm just like, even when I'm listening to it with commentary, I'm commenting on it. It's just like, there's so much to say. I have so many thoughts. And like, it's once in a lifetime testimony to me. And also, we have no idea what to expect from Carrie Roberts. I have no idea what to expect. But I had predicted early on that they were going to throw her under the bus. Like, from the first time we heard anything about her, I was like, weird. Like, we're only hearing these little things here and there. But like, here's what I think's going to happen. And so anyway, I'm going to go live tomorrow with the trial, and as long as I possibly can, hopefully finish up with Jen's testimony, get some of Carrie Roberts' testimony, and like I was saying, like even if I'm the only one there, it'll be good practice for me because I've only done this once so far, where it's like the live trial, but it was really super fucking fun and I loved it. So I don't expect anybody to be there. Don't feel like you have to come, but I'll be doing it. So here's the thing. I will say this, DSN, if you were watching, I think you would have noticed some things. Now, let me explain why. Because she did some crazy ass shit that even EDB, who's watching it, she was actually taking notes. And today she had a different note-taking system. So I think it was like distracting her. So she was like looking down to write. And I kept noticing it was like every time that there was like this crazy ass moment where Jen made this like she did some crazy face stuff, like sighs and like her mouth wide open and like crazy things I've never seen anyone do in my life anywhere, let alone on the stand. But like literally, I'm like, how do you know what that means? Like, it's like, it was like literally a wild animal going to launch. I mean, it was rude. It was crazy. And like, right, as soon as she would do that, right, like EDB would like look down and write notes because there wasn't any sound. And so for anyone who was just listening, you wouldn't have heard any commentary about it and you wouldn't have heard anything come out of her mouth. So there were some gestures like that and moments like that where I was thinking to myself, no, look up. So I will say that much for it. Yeah, so the jury's done. I would bet my violin on it. And my violin was made in 1770. Oh my God, sorry, 1757. So yeah, I mean, when you thought it couldn't get any worse, the butt dials. I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. How? She said that. And then I don't know if you guys noticed this, but progressively, every time she mentioned John O'Keefe, it started with something like, oh, this person who I really liked was on the ground. And then it was, oh, my friend was on the ground. And then eventually over time, towards the end of her testimony, when she was trying to play the victim, it reminded me a lot of Alex Murrock, right? Like, this was so traumatic for me. And this was so awful for me. And this was so upsetting for me. And every time she mentioned John in reference to that, it morphed. And eventually, if you paid attention, the last time she said it, she said, someone I loved. I was like, this is insane. This is insane. You didn't give a shit. Like, this is wild. And she goes on the stand and says, oh, I called him all these 50 million times because I knew they were coming, right? And that's what we all thought. And like, she's expecting him to show up at the house. And then we find out at the very end of that testimony that she testified, one of the times she testified in front of a grand jury or whatever, she told them it was butt dials. And dude, what blew my mind was the suggestion that he made that she was calling the phone to try to find it. My mind literally exploded because that had not occurred to me, that maybe that's why she was actually calling, was to try to find the phone. Oh my fucking God. And so then she goes and tells people different stories. One story that she was calling because they were expecting him to come. And of course, that correlates with her actions of looking out the window, right? But if she's just looking for the phone and he's already dead and they're trying to find the phone, like none of that, like it's a completely different situation, right? Yeah, so here's my other thoughts on this. I'm drinking my coffee. Wifey, I hope you had a good day today. I love you so much. And yes, the OnlyFans is always here for you. So here's some other thing that I was thinking. So I don't know how much truth was in anything that she said. However, I did get an interesting picture of this scenario because, I've talked a lot about the weird dynamic in this group because you've got this group of these kids, right? These 20-year-old kids or kids to me, whatever, that are just wanting to have a nice birthday party at home. Then you've got Colin showing up and he's rowdy and young and a jackass, obviously. And then you've got all these adults, right? And like the parents' friends showing up at the house supposedly for the birthday, and everybody's been drinking for hours. And one thing I noticed, I already noticed it, but I was thinking about there's a different significance in my mind now. If you notice, they've asked every single witness how drunk everybody was, and everybody says the same thing, which is, we had a couple beers, but nobody was falling over, nobody was too intoxicated. And then whenever on direct, Lolly always asks a follow-up question, which is, was everybody basically equally drunk type of question, right? Was anybody more drunk than another person or something? It's a stupid question, of course. And every single person says the same thing, which is, nope, everybody was the same amount of drunk. That is interesting to me because this paints this picture that I kind of started to see in my mind, like visually in my mind's eye with Jen today, of what was going on with them. In that, okay, how can I describe this? So you've got all these different groups of people, right? Different ages and all this different stuff, but everybody's been drinking a lot, okay? And there was this part towards the end of her testimony where she was getting really flustered and really frazzled, and she was yelling at Jackson, yelling at him, aggressively yelling at him, really defensive. And she was saying like, look, I don't know, that type of thing. And then but the way she was talking, it was like this was not a planned response as much. This was really more, he was getting her to act on her gut, which is a good thing, And so when she was in that mode, she was like, I don't know the answer to whatever the question was. Like, I don't know the answer. She was like, we were all traumatized. And then she kept saying everyone. And she's like, everyone was we were all just trying to figure out what happened and just trying to figure out what to do. And it's like during the part where they're talking about how they had the group, they didn't want to get outside the bubble, that part towards the end, right? With the bubble, the text messages and the bubbles. And I was just sitting here like, this is, she's like, we all agreed that we were going to do this and that. And it's like, you're describing exactly what the defense's theory of the case is, first of all. But the way she was describing it, it was as if I got this picture in my mind of them all equally being in panic. And by all, I mean the parents, the kids. And think about it, right? Here's this crazy dynamic. So I pictured it this way. And I don't know if this is accurate. It's just interesting to think about. Because when we think about the question of going back to the drinking, right? And how everybody said the same thing and that they were all equally drunk. I got this picture in my mind of like, I think it's actually been a topic for a TV show or a movie, but I don't remember what it is. But the way I picture it is like a game of Clue, where everybody's trying to figure out who did it in what room with what weapon. But normally in the game of Clue, the person who did it knows they did it. And in this game of Clue, everybody's shit-faced and nobody knows who did it. They don't know if they did it and they don't know if the other person did it. And I started thinking about that because I just thought to myself, you know what? If they were all really drunk, like really drunk, and maybe there were some drugs involved, I don't know. But that could explain this entire thing of where they all were like trying to figure out what happened. And they all knew that something happened, but they didn't know what. And then they all have to try to start covering for each other. But then, think about this, then they would start to get suspicious. And then, because of these dynamics, you would have these like alliances, right? Because you've got several different married couples, actually 3 sets of married couples. And each set of them, the married couple has children. And all those children are friends with each other and cousins. So you've got all these different like factions, if you will, or groups within the group of who are they going to be loyal to type thing, and how are they going to get their stories matching? And that would explain why there's these little small groups that have the same story that doesn't match the other group, if that makes sense. But they all have the same answers to certain things. For example, the alcohol. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. But that's what I'm kind of wondering if there's any dynamic of that, of like, Like, what if they really didn't initially know what happened because they were all so drunk? So everybody like, and then I thought, and then thinking about how this relates back to Karen, right? With Karen's whole thing of her being like, did I hit him? It's the same thing. It's like this whole idea of like, if they were all so drunk that everyone was actually thinking, who did this? Like, and then the idea of like, I could have done it, right? Would be a normal response. Now, of course, that's also more normal, especially if someone who's hurt that you are close to, because that's normal, right? Because it's like we see this all the time with the survivor's guilt. So I didn't think anything of it with Karen at the time, but that would actually be really interesting because that's what all the rest of the group says she said. So that's almost like them, and I'm probably overthinking it, but whatever. It's almost like they could be projecting that onto her. Like, we don't really know for sure that she said anything, right? Like, that could be them. Like, that could have been Jen McCabe projecting that, like saying she said that because that's what everybody else was thinking. I don't know. Just a thought. Because Karen was like with the group, but not really with the group, wasn't like quite as tight. You know, she wasn't one of the family. As Jackson pointed out at the very beginning of Cross, that was how he started it, right? Like John and Karen were not part of the family. They're not part of the in crowd. So, I mean, I think they know what happened. I mean, now, but like, I wouldn't be surprised if it wouldn't surprise me if everyone was really drunk that they might not have known at the time until they maybe got sober and figured some stuff out. Because think about it. Is it that hard to imagine that they might be underestimating how much they had to drink? No, especially because they're all driving and they're all law enforcement and there was someone underage. So like the thought that they might be underestimating how much they were drinking and downplaying it, I think that's entirely plausible. Let me see. I haven't been reading the chat at all, guys, because I'm just like deep in thought here. Let's see here. So you have to have surgery, wifey? I don't know much about that type of surgery, but I hope it's not going to be that big of a thing. Yeah, I mean that's exactly the thing, right? And so that's the thing. So there's like two ways this could have happened. Well, there's probably more than two, but the two that I'm thinking, there's like one where it's like they were all very lucid and knew what was going on and worked together and came, or it could have been the opposite where they all were all shit faced and then they're like, what the fuck? And then it's like, well, we better all figure out what the fuck happened, right? Either way. So I could just in terms of trying to picture this setting there. So, and what else did I have written down there? Yeah. So just, yeah, picturing it like that. It's kind of interesting to think about where it's like, I don't know, the idea that like, what if everybody is suspecting themselves and the other people because everybody's like, what the fuck happened? Like, I mean, I don't know, but it is interesting because you can see that they were saving it for Jen. Like you could see that they were saving the wrath for her. Like it's really clear. Like, think about how they're treating her versus the Alberts, right? It's very clear to me that they think she's one of the biggest factors in this in terms of having responsibility. It's really clear. And it wouldn't surprise me because honestly, even though she was a stay-at-home mom and she's a female and she's not law enforcement and there's like all this toxic masculinity, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if she, within the whole family group, if she runs the show and like just tells everybody what to do. It wouldn't surprise me. So, like she could be like I don't want to say ringleader, but kind of, I mean, we already have seen that in the testimony that it kind of sounded like she was instructing people. And then the other thing too is like, oh yeah, with the investigations, like I just noticed that when I was watching on EDB's stream, I was almost like bummed that no one pointed it out because when she was being questioned about how, Allie was with her. Okay, so here, the thing is that everybody's always with somebody else when they're being questioned, and they're always at like somebody else's house. So like when she was being questioned about how Allie was with her one time, and then another time Carrie was over at her house, and she said, "Oh, we were having dinner," but Carrie was being interviewed at Jen's house or whatever. I mean, I kept thinking back, and I was just disappointed that no one connected this, but I was thinking back to like, because Jen was trying to make it seem like it was just happenstance, right? I was connecting that back to like back in this, what feels like the Stone Ages, earlier in the trial, when we heard from Brian Albert Sr., when it was the same thing, but with her, where she was interviewed at his house. So with then I thought, so I was just, I wish someone had pointed out is that there's this commonality of somebody else in the group is always watching and observing the testimony to make sure it's going as planned. So when Jen was being interviewed or whatever, you know, that was at Brian Albert's house. And of course, I think he probably claims he was up, whatever the fuck, doesn't matter. We know he was in the house, right? Same thing when Carrie's being interviewed, she's being interviewed at Jen McCabe's house, and Jen McCabe's overhearing the test or what she's saying. So everybody's got someone else to monitor them. It's really insane when you think about it. So, hold on. Let me see. Did you have a question, Wifey? Let me scroll up. Yeah, well, you're going to see her face here in a sec. I got a little clip. She's very, I don't mean it in a good way. I hate to say that. Like, I wish it was like a badass, you know, lady, but she's really, not, I hate it. I hate that. Like, but, she's the hypotenuse. Yeah, I know. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Carrie's number was not in Jen's phone. Correct. Right. Trying to remember what the deal, that came, like that went by in a flash for me. I feel like that testimony today. Remind me what else happened with that DSN. I remember that happening, but my brain was still like on the floor, from whatever the previous thing was. So, okay, while DSN's going to answer hopefully my question about this, let me pull up. I have a very short clip, but I've got a lawyer, you know. So these are some fun Peterisms, but it's from his, it's regarding the testimony from today, but it's very short, but just a couple little things is all I had time to do for this. So, yeah.
It's not extensively. Speaking about it is very painful and difficult.
What does extensively mean? More than twice?
Well, you tell me.
I'm asking the questions, Ms. McCabe. That's how this works.
I understand, but...
And that happened multiple times too. I mean, she really wanted to, you know, get in there and scuffle with him. Is that the word I'm looking for? And spar with him. I mean, she definitely wanted to. I mean, obviously, give me a break. If I asked you what somebody said and you told me 12 different things, but now you remember very specifically with 100% certainty and clarity that she said, I hit him, but you never said that before. That's tough. That's not, that makes me, if I'm a juror, a tick down on credibility to me, that she really wants to get in that I hit him. But maybe
I
she's looking.
added that Zoom, guys. I'm going to rewind that so we can see it again. I added that Zoom because he paused it. So Peter does what I do a lot of times where he pauses it and just doesn't pay attention to where he pauses it. Whereas some people will pause it and try to find a good image or whatever of the person. He just pauses it wherever, and I do the same thing. And so this is what she looks like. And of course, Peter doesn't notice it. But I zoomed in because I noticed her face when he paused it. And I was like, oh my God. So let me just show y'all again because it's pretty funny.
I hit him. But maybe she's looking at Jen McCabe like, hey,
I didn't
to
go
me,
that
that
far
she
enough.
really wants to get in that I hit him. But maybe she's looking at Jen McCabe like, hey, you want this fight, it seems like. You want to fight like this, you know, and you get, what is it? You wrestle with pigs, you can't tell who's who. Or you both get dirty. I know you argue with a fool from a distance, people can't tell who is who. That's whatever. She says she didn't delete him. She says she didn't delete him on purpose. So I don't really know if she lied about deleting him or not or whatever. So, but I'm going to put this in the category of like Murdoch.
Yay!
One of the big things with Alec Murdoch was
anybody who watched EDB and Laura, you know, today, just I say this every time, but we hear every day, watch anyone covering this trial on LawTube. Every day, somebody's reminded of Murdoch. And you guys, it just makes me so happy in my heart. I'm surprised no one else is connecting it with the sirens, but whatever, that's fine. Whenever things like the DNA collection or the cell phone data, and then even just like the knowing what to lie about thing, like, which was something I've been pointing out since the beginning, you know, like that's what he's actually about to say. Like, I get so happy. I'm like, because everybody wants to pretend like it's not their favorite trial, but like I think it's everyone's favorite trial secretly, you know.
Why lie about being down at the kennels? And
right?
We heard from the jurors after, and a lot of people are just like, it doesn't make sense why he'd lie. And then, you know, a lot of other things piled on and they end up with a guilty verdict. Why delete these phone calls? Why delete the call to Nicole Albert, and why delete all these phone calls to John O'Keefe?
So yeah. So by the way, guys, I have Peter, and it's, I actually realized I think I do the same thing where I'm like, is that a word or is that a saying? And I think I get it wrong, and I'm just like, kind of keep going, and nobody really ends up like correcting me. And the same thing with Peter. It's really funny, and I didn't even think about that until I started doing live streams. But like, I talk like that in my everyday life as well. And but I have saved on my phone and on my computer so many clips of Peter doing this with these little sayings where he gets a saying wrong, and it's so fucking funny. Like, they happen almost every episode of whenever he has a show. Like, but I've got a bunch of them, and I could put together a pretty funny, just like a little thing of like a compilation of those. I'm of course it's completely out of love. I think it's hilarious. I love it. And again, and now I'm like, oh, I realize I think I do the same thing, but it's really fucking funny. And the other thing that's funny is the pig one. He's gotten that one wrong before. I actually have it on video on my phone. It was like maybe a year ago. Y'all, I could find it. It was like maybe a year ago. He was trying to do the same expression, but he got it wrong, but he kept trying to guess it, and he guessed it like 6 different times, but he guessed different guesses then than he did today. So it's even funnier when you think about that. Like, he's still trying to get that saying, the pigs, mud. Oh God, I love it so much. Oh, they did. I missed that part. DSN, if someone corrected him. I missed that part. So why would Jen be in a car with Carrie going to officer? Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I think those are rhetorical questions, right? And the fact that was like, oh my God, there was so much. There was so much. I've never in my life. And what was interesting too is the judge. I don't know what I found that really among the more interesting. I mean, there's a lot of crazy shit, but in terms of like interesting stuff, I found it really interesting that that Judge Bev was ruling completely differently. Like, she was letting him have it. I was shocked because normally we see her intervene for the defense for nothing. And like, she was letting him have it. And also Lolly was not objecting for a lot of the time. I don't blame him. Again, if I were him, I would have ran away and gone to live in a cave a long time ago. But also, for anyone who wasn't here last night, we were playing a really fun game, and we can continue this game if we want, which is, what is Lolly's life like? And actually, like I was saying, last night's video is halfway done with timestamps. That's a new one, right? But I have the beginning timestamps done, and I'm actually putting a timestamp in there. Well, it should already be up, but a timestamp for this fun game of what is Lolly's life like. So we started last night with what kind of car does Lolly drive? And then we were like, what is Lolly's life like? And then like, what is Lolly's wife like? So if anyone wants to chime in about that, that was fun. Yeah, Lolly, Jesus can't save her. Jesus, Buddha, the spaghetti monster, J.S. Bach, whoever. Like, there's nothing. This is... I noticed so many things with her, you guys, that was like, it's unhinged. It's completely unhinged. I can't wait to do a full breakdown whenever we do the recap. And I also can't wait to do the live trial, because it's just going to be worse. Because you know what? She knows what's coming. She's not going to get, dude, what he's going to, I guarantee you, mark my words, he's going to end with the text messages where she searches about how long does it take to die in the cold or whatever, die in the snow, hypothermia. He's going to end with that. And she is waiting. She's not going to probably be able to get a wink of sleep, just waiting and waiting and waiting, because that's going to be fucking brutal. The jury, I mean, he doesn't even need it, to be honest. The jury's, I think the moment the solo cups came in, that was it. If I were on that jury, I would already have a lot of questions, because I'd be like, what is happening and why is there no evidence? Why is there no case? But by the time you show me those solo cups, what are we doing? Why are we here? Done. And at this point, they're just listening to this, and maybe they're just like getting the entertainment factor. I really don't know. And like, if at the very end of the day, they usually don't put anything on the record, which is crazy. But Judge Bev was like, who are your next witnesses? And Lolly was like, well, we're going to finish with her. And then we have Carrie Roberts. And then it was a couple. It was like a man and a woman. I had no idea who they were. Did anyone catch that? It was names I had not heard before. So they sounded like lay witnesses, like not law enforcement, but lay witnesses. Sebastian or something, maybe? I don't know. And then after that is Trooper Proctor. And I'm like thinking to myself, we're still not getting to a cell phone person. We're still not getting to a medical examiner. Like, where is like the evidence? Like Trooper Proctor was the lead investigator. So in a normal situation, he would be someone who could testify as to like the evidence. But in this trial, that's not what's going to happen. That's not what's going to happen at all, because they're going to have to spend this entire time trying to figure out why he did everything the way he did, and including taking Karen's phone and like looking at nude pictures and shit. So the two Sullivans, thank you. Do you know who they are? Oh, I'm sure she's talking to freaking Matt. Probably her daughter too. Did Allie say she still lives with them? I'm trying to remember. I feel like she does. She's definitely talking to Matt, though. The two of them are both done, so it's fine. Like, at this point, let them have it, you know? Like, there's nothing they can do to help each other. Honestly, it's just... And, you know, she was smiling a lot, too. In a different type of smile, but if you guys noticed, I don't know if you guys saw, she was smiling, especially earlier on. I noticed, and because it was funny because Matt did it, too. But she would smile, and she would laugh and get this smug... Oh, my God. Dude, I don't even know, man. It's wild. But yeah, it's like, are they gonna, because so Trooper Proctor is not going to be able to really, I don't think, get into like the actual evidence, because it's going to be all about all the fucked up shit. And so like, it makes me wonder, like, are they just going to rest? Like, are they just going to, it would probably be like the first time in history where like, you know, a prosecution rests their case without like putting on like regular forensic evidence or whatever. But, I mean, it is common practice to finish with your lead detective, right? You don't have to, but it's pretty common practice. I mean, fucking hell, they probably should have just started with him and gotten him over with, right? I mean, I don't know. It's funny because it's like, I remember in the opening statements from the defense thinking that this is going to be all about Trooper Proctor. Like Trooper Proctor is like, this is all about him. But it's so funny because so much of it is so bad. Like I keep forgetting about him, right? And we need to hear from Higgins too still. Oh my God. It's like, it's just, anyway. But my point is like, there's so much of it that's so bad. It's easy to forget about all the other people that it's like, oh yeah, them, you know, but like from the opening statements, it was like Trooper Proctor was like what this whole thing was about. That was the idea I had. Hi, Super Planner Girl. Happy to see you. What'd you think today? That was a wild one, huh? I know you were catching up on it. That's what I've just been rambling about. And just in case, because I know you probably didn't hear this, but you're okay, wifey. You know what? It's all good, because you know what? The thing is that if you just watch, for anyone that just watches the recaps here, like you're caught up for the recaps. You know what I mean? We're only a day or two behind the trial. Like that's, you know, obviously that's her face, but this is just a clip, but like, we're not that far behind, but like, you know, the recaps will fill you in. I know there's other people here who haven't watched all the trial testimony, who I think are just watching the recaps, and, you know, they are in the loop. So that's totally all good. And I love you, wifey, so much. But yeah, I'm going to be doing it live tomorrow. That's what she said. No, that's not what she said. At like whatever, 9:15 a.m. So, just because I can't, it just makes me feel crazy. Like today, I'm like yelling at my TV, and I'm like, you know, poor Frodo, you know what I mean? Like, because I just like, I have so much to say. So, I mean, even if no one watches it, that's fine. It's good practice for me and stuff. So, no, we all know you're all good, wifey. We're all, you know, doing things. It was stressful. It was very stressful. It was stressful. I appreciate that you said that, because did you guys feel it? Like I felt it. Like I felt the tension. I felt the agitation that was happening between them two. It was really palpable. Oh, that's nice of you. Thank you. I mean, again, you guys, as far as I know, EDB should be there. Again, I didn't see that it was posted yet, but of course, don't blame me. Go watch. I just figured if I'm available, I'm going to be there for as long as I can because, it was really fun. It was really fun, and it is different doing live reactions like that when you haven't already seen it. You know what I mean? So it is a fun way to do it, and of course, I'll watch EDB on replay. She was like ready to leap over that witness stand and claw his eyes out. She was really close. She was really close. And you know what, you guys, tomorrow, I just don't even know. They better, y'all. I would be like, can we get some restraints for her? Because this is going to pick up where it left off. And she's going to have had all night to worry about this, just waiting for that question about the text messages with the dying in the snow. Dude, it's going to be brutal. It's going to be brutal. Oh my God. Dude, I know. When she said that, sorry. It was like, I mean, the jury, I don't know how, there were some times today in the trial where, and we'll see it when we go back and do the recap and we get to watch everything and we can rewind and stuff. But there were times where you could tell people were making facial expressions, and it sucks because we didn't get to see all of it. Like there was times where it was clear that the judge must have reacted, or maybe the jury must have reacted, or the gallery, because people were reacting to something and we were seeing their reaction, but not what actually happened. Dude, I wish we could see what was happening on people's faces because, I mean, I would love to. I wish we could know what the jury's faces looked like when when she said that. And it made me so sick. I know I already said this, but I know some of you guys are just now getting here. It made me so sick too, the way she talked about John O'Keefe and started out with like, yeah, he's my friend. And then it's like, yeah, of course I care. He's someone I like. And she's talking about, in reference to, of course, it's only in reference to how traumatized she is and what a victim she is, because this was a stressful situation. It was a chaotic situation and nobody knew what happened. And like, it's not about John, right? But whenever she's referring to John in order to describe that situation, she's like, yeah, when you find someone you like, and the way, I already said this, but like just the way that by the end of the testimony today, the last time she said it, she'd morphed it into, she was all emotional. She's like, when someone you love is dead. And it's like, bitch, you walked past his dead body and you might have had something to do with it. And you're lying your ass off about fucking everything, dude. And it not only that, you've not said one single thing. It's just like what we see with everybody else, right? The people who tend to be actually innocent blame themselves. And it's all about the person who died, right? But the people who are involved, we saw it with Murdoch, we see it with everybody. People who are involved, all they're trying to do is save their own asses, right? And blame somebody else and play the victim. It's like, I don't even know. Yeah, I know, exactly. I know. Seriously, I wouldn't be surprised if she could be pushed to the edge of like some sort of weird outburst. I'm serious. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. If you paid attention to the way she had some really weird gasps and sighs, did anyone notice that? It was something that you couldn't really hear, but you would see it. Her like really weird facial expressions, like weird gasps and sighs. There was like this one time where literally I thought she was gonna like launch over that witness stand. She made a crazy motion. Yeah, it was weird. It was actually scary. I literally was like, what is happening? And I remember specifically because at that exact moment, EDB was looking down to write down her notes and she missed it. I'm like, no. Yeah, it was. So, okay, let's get started with this video. So dude, you guys, this is trial. We're going to finish up with Colin Albert today in this recap. And then we go right into Matt McCabe. All right, let's do it.
It's a house.
Yes, indeed. It's a house. So this is from Thursday. So we're just for anyone who let's orient ourselves, right? So remember, they do half days on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So this video is going to get us caught up to halfway through Friday, and then the next recap will finish Friday. But they did not have court this past Monday, and today was only a half day. So that's why I'm saying we're actually going to be really close to caught up, essentially, with the testimony. Because of the fact that they skipped Monday and they do the half days on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So yeah.
You were shown a photo yesterday
Oh, this fucker.
of you in
Y'all.
February of
You guys, doesn't this feel like forever ago with these videos? This feels like a lifetime ago.
2022.
But it was only on Thursday.
Remember that photo? Mr. Lally showed you that photo?
Correct.
And he said he wanted you to pay special attention to your face and hands and extremities. Asked you if there was anything unusual about that.
Yes.
You said no. In that photo, absolutely nothing unusual in February 2022 about you, your face, your hands, your fists, nothing, right?
Correct.
I want to draw your attention to February 26th.
Oh, it did that thing again. Sorry, guys. Sorry, it did that thing again with the layout.
Less than a month after the incident.
There we go.
You were at a place called Fenway Johnny's with
least
your
the video kept
buddies,
playing.
weren't you?
Correct.
You see that photograph that's being displayed?
Yes.
Are you in that photograph?
Yes.
Which person are you?
In the middle.
Oh wait. Okay. Do you guys notice, first of all, it looks like he might be missing a couple front teeth. I don't know. Do you guys see that? Second of all, they're about to draw attention to his right hand.
And about what time of day was it? That's you in the middle?
Correct.
Okay. About what time of day was this taken?
Not sure.
Was it at an event of some sort, or just you were at a bar?
Just at a bar.
Okay. I want you to take a look at your right hand.
So when he first did this in real life, when this happened, initially I was like, please, we've got to be pointing out the fact that he is 17 years old. Actually, at this point, according to him, he tries to make it seem like he was younger, right? So 16 or something, underage, well underage, right? And that he's at a bar and he's got a wristband on, which means he must have a fake ID. Right. And it is for the knuckles. Exactly. It's for the knuckles. But my first thought was, holy shit, he's got a wristband on. Like, I mean, I guess it shouldn't surprise anyone he has a fake ID, because it sounds like he was an alcoholic by the time he was like 17. But, you know, yeah, probably. Yeah. Wasn't
Can you
surprising.
see from there clearly your right hand?
Yes.
What do you notice about your right hand?
It's cut up.
Your knuckles are injured, correct?
The story about how he fell
Correct.
is really funny.
Now, you didn't take this photo, did you?
Nope.
That photo was never on your phone.
Fenway Johnny took it.
In other words, it wasn't a friend of yours that took the photo.
No.
This was taken by an event staff member, is that right?
Correct.
It was later posted on social media, isn't that right?
Yeah, you're right.
Correct.
That's the
You
point.
could not access the metadata. You
That's
couldn't
the point.
access the time and date of that photo, correct?
I'm not sure what you mean by
You
that.
couldn't manipulate
He
the
doesn't know
time and
words.
date this photo was taken.
No.
This photo is completely sort of out of your control, isn't that right?
Correct.
And it was controlled by the event staff
you're right,
at Fenway
Lacey.
Johnny's.
Yeah.
Correct.
And on February
Totally.
26th, less than a month after the incident at Fairview, that's what your right knuckles look like, correct?
Correct.
And this is a true and accurate depiction of your condition on or about February 26th.
So he
correct?
was 17.
Correct.
17.
How'd you get those injuries, Mr. Albert? We can,
He was 17.
I was at a party, my house party, my senior year, and I remember it being icy out, and it was kind of like a steep hill of a driveway, and I was walking up the driveway, and I slipped down the driveway, and I tried to catch myself, but I had something in my left hand, so I had tried to brace myself with my right hand, and I ended up sliding a little bit down the driveway.
Good one.
what'd you have in your left hand?
Good one.
If I remember, it was either my phone or a beverage.
So according to
Oh, beverage.
you,
So
you fell
question,
on-
how can you tell? I know, right? It really is. So you can tell that it's not marijuana by the pupils? I'm curious, wifey. I believe you. I'm just curious because, like, I didn't know you could tell by the eyes which type. DSN, please tell him we say hi and give him hugs from all of us. Let him know he's famous in this squirrel community over here.
ice and injured your knuckles as we just saw in that
Right?
photograph, right across the top of your knuckles.
I know.
Correct.
Okay. So you fell onto what, pavement, asphalt?
Yes.
And you braced yourself when you fell, your entire body weight, by putting your right hand down in a fist, and you injured your right
This is Alan Jackson being like, yeah, this is bullshit.
fist, just the top of the knuckles on your right fist when you fell down.
Correct.
Seriously?
Yes.
Objection,
Yes.
Your Honor.
Sustained.
Yes. Well done.
You
Done.
put your palms down when you fell?
No.
You fell your entire body weight on your right fist and just injured
You
the top
finished
portion of
it.
your knuckles, correct?
Correct.
Those injuries to your knuckles look an awful lot like the type of injuries that you would get in a
Objection,
fight.
Your Honor.
Sustained.
You ever been in a fight, sir?
Other than with my brothers, no.
Y'all
You've
wait till
never
you see
been in
the
a fight.
videos if you haven't seen them.
Nope.
It is insane. It's gonna get
Your
so
entire
crazy.
life.
Other than with my brothers, no.
He's a lover, not
Never
a
hurt your
fighter,
knuckles
guys.
before.
Duh.
Not sure what you mean.
Never hurt your knuckles in a fight.
No.
And in this case, when you fell down on the asphalt, it was only the top 4 knuckles of your right hand, correct?
Correct.
You right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
You box?
Nope.
I'm sorry, you don't box?
Nope.
You've never boxed?
Never.
You ever practice boxing?
I've hit the bag for like cardio, but
You know they're
Other
not
than
gonna
that,
ask
no.
that if they don't already
When
know
you
the
hit
answer.
the bag, is that considered boxing?
I wouldn't say so. Not
It's not jumping
really.
rope, is it, Mr. Albert?
No.
It's not doing curls.
Nope.
It's not doing push-ups or calisthenics.
Nope.
It's hitting a bag, correct?
Yeah.
That's boxing, right?
I'd say yeah.
Yeah.
What an idiot. I
When
swear.
when that photograph was taken at Fenway Johnny's, those knuckles looked like they had been re-injured from a prior
Right.
injury.
Yeah.
No?
No.
Just falling on the asphalt.
Right, but you remember
Correct.
there's like
Any
there's no
other cuts or
evidence in this
scrapes from
trial,
that
really, so
terrible fall on the asphalt?
it would be nice.
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll rephrase it. Any other cuts or scrapes or injuries from that fall?
I don't remember.
Just your
Well,
right knuckles.
I say that we do get some actual cell phone text messages coming up, but it's a rarity. And usually trials are built off of this type of stuff. So
Yeah.
You said you've never been in a fight before.
we're about to see some
Nope.
video evidence, though, actually. Here you go.
I
Here you
appreciate
go.
you giving us the
Coming-
opportunity.
coming up.
Your Honor, it's very clear that these
After this.
videos are highly, highly
Okay,
relevant.
let me pause this real quick and just say for those of you who didn't see it. So, okay, so what happened is there was a voir dire, and I didn't include that questioning because the questioning is exactly like what you're going to see once the jury is present. So if you remember in Murdoch, sometimes in the voir dires went really different than the regular testimony. Like they got really into, it got kind of wild, right? Like we remember like Tinsley and stuff. So here, whenever they've done any voir dires, the voir dires have been, because Judge Bev like runs such a tight ship that like it's exactly limited to the same questions. So I didn't include the voir dire questioning, but I wanted to include them arguing because we don't get to see very much of that. And unless people have watched the prior hearings, which I didn't, I've never seen them argue. And arguing is completely different than, questioning a witness or whatever. So this is a very different side to see of the attorneys and also how they're going to talk about. So right now, what's going to happen is there's these videos, these social media videos of Colin Albert, that jackass dude, doing fucked up shit, basically. I don't want to give it away because we're going to see it here in a sec, that are from social media or whatever. And like the defense wants to bring them in on cross-examination, right? And so before that could happen, they had to do a voir dire. And so what they did was they played the videos in front of him and then they asked him some questions and then they dismissed the witness, Colin. And now they're both sides are going to argue to the judge why these videos should or should not be allowed to be played in front of the jury. And then the judge will make a decision. So the jury's not present. So right now we're going to hear Alan Jackson for the defense arguing to Judge Bev why the jury needs to see these videos.
Been the
I do too.
sanitized
Yeah,
testimony.
I do too, wifey, but like it was just a time thing. But we're gonna see the same questions, so don't worry. I also love voir dires, but literally it was the exact, and he answers them exactly the same with the same deadpan expression. So, yeah, but you know, if I ever go back and do this trial deep dive like I did with Murdoch, we would watch all of it, you know. But I'm just trying to stay calm.
That this witness
But yeah.
has tried to present to this jury.
But luckily
He's
you don't
indicated that
understand.
he's never been in a fight, doesn't have any violent proclivities, he doesn't have any violent
Yeah,
tendencies.
right.
It's not in his countenance to do this. Mr. Lally opened this
So
door.
you only got that through the voir dire.
Understood.
Okay,
Understood.
so the violent tendencies only came in through the voir dire.
Well, that's not true. When in front of the jury, he said, "I've never been in a fight."
Okay, but that specific question, you said violent tendencies, it was unobjected to, but that was voir dire.
Understood. Understood.
Let me explain what that means for anybody who's curious. So that would be the only difference between the voir dire that we skipped with the questioning and then the regular questioning. That's the only difference. But I'm glad that they address it because now we have it here. So basically, what she's saying here is, the prosecution, the Commonwealth rather, opened the door by asking him questions about being in a fight or whatever, right? And so then that's how they opened the door for the defense to cross on that, right? And so then they started to have this voir dire with these videos because it's relevant to this topic. And during the voir dire questioning, the defense asked him something about having violent tendencies or whatever. And I guess the question was unobjected to. And so he just referenced the violent tendencies. So she was just reminding him that the violent tendencies was an answer that came out in the voir dire and that he can't use that in his line of questioning in front of the jury because that was only from the voir dire. So if that makes sense. Oh, hey, Victor. I'm so happy to see you. Cheers, my friend. Victor, dude, you were joining us with Debbie Heard, right? Back in the day. God, it feels like forever ago. So happy to see you. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, if I recall, I'm pretty sure, right? Debbie Heard? Sweet. I'm so happy to see you again, my friend. So, that's fucking hilarious too. Have you been following this trial? So yeah. Hopefully that all makes sense. Let me know if you guys have any questions about it. But yeah, she's just reminding him that not to get confused and accidentally ask that question in front of the jury. So
Mr. Lally clearly opened this door yesterday. He presented a photograph or a series of photographs with this witness's family. His arm draped over his aunt. He's with his mom, looking very family-oriented, etc. And Mr. Lally went further than that and specifically said, I want you to take a look at your face, and your hands, and your extremities. Do you see anything unusual or odd about that? That's why I believe the court allowed, based on the testimony today, allowed the photograph in February of 2022 of the actual photo that cannot be manipulated. It's in the hands of a third party of the busted and injured knuckles on this witness's right hand. He then said, I've never been in a fight. Those two videos belie that testimony. There is no way to look at those two videos and say, this is not relevant to the issue of whether or not he has been in a fight.
But tell me how whether he's been in a fight is relevant to an issue in this case.
now
That's what you
that
have
is the important question, and listen to his response. That's why I'm so glad we got to see it.
Because the police should have, the
This is
Massachusetts
good
State
stuff right
Police
here. This is
should
good
have,
shit.
if they were doing their due diligence, they should have investigated this
This
young
is the
man. They
importance
should have
of
investigated
defense
every
attorneys.
single person that
Right
was
here.
in that house,
Right here.
in or around the home,
important.
where John O'Keefe was found, the Albert home, and they didn't. They did nothing to investigate whether or not there was someone in the house who tended to fight, who wanted to get in physical altercations, who had a propensity to get in physical altercations, who was a fighter by nature, who threatened to fight, who threatened violence. That's what this young man has indicated he does constantly. I'm surprised he didn't show up in this hearing with busted knuckles.
So does this go to your third-party culprit defense?
It goes to both. It certainly goes to both.
Check this out.
But
This
yes,
is brilliant.
it also goes to our third-party culprit defense as well. This is a focus of, I believe, this should be a focus of the juror's attention in terms of, is there a third party who could have done this?
Yeah.
That evidence points to
Yeah.
that may have done this absolutely, this evidence, what we now have, points directly in that it's focused in that direction. So yes, both it should have been investigated, and Colin Albert is somebody that the jurors should focus their opinion on or their attention on to determine whether or not he could have or was involved in the death of John O'Keefe.
All right, Mr. Lally?
Yes, Your Honor. The Commonwealth would submit did not open the door in reference to this,
Okay, Lolly.
showing a photograph of someone and what they physically looked like. There was no suggestion. The only questions that were asked about fighting or anything of that nature were by counsel. So counsel thinks he opened his own door. I don't think that's exactly how that works. This is nothing more than rank speculation. It has nothing, bears no relevance whatsoever to this case. You're talking about something that is dated at least a year, if not two, prior to the incidents in this case.
But what if it's as Mr. Jackson pointed out, the prior testimony, his senior year, which is, of course, is much closer.
Lolly. Oh, Lolly. All right. So he's trying to, oh boy. So, so Victor, if you're still watching, Run Red Rabbit, who is lovingly called Wifey by me and others, or Triple R Wifey, has a question for you about if you've ever been to Grave Face in Chicago. But Lolly is trying to say, or that, like, he started with this first argument that, like, you know, it wasn't, they didn't really fully open the door, or whatever. No, that's, are you wrong? And then now what he's trying to say, he's trying to go with, and we've seen this in other trials, he's trying to go with like a timeliness of issue of like, that it happened too far away from the present date. And we remember, we heard them talk about this in Deputy Heard with things. We've heard them talk about this in Murdoch with the other trials as well, obviously. But what's so funny is that it's funny that he's arguing that, because you know why? Judge Bev is telling him that Colin lied about the date of that video to make it seem like it was further away than it was. So he's just bringing attention to that. So, so Victor saying he started late. He's at the part where McCabe was ringing the phone to find it. Oh yeah. Okay. So you started over from the beginning of the live stream. Okay. Gotcha. That's a good question. I don't know where the phone was found. Does anybody know? If DSN is still, oh, right. Okay. He's playing with his kid. So we've got a friend in the chat who's always here, who will know the answer to that question. And we call him DSN for short, because his username is Daddy Short Nuts, which comes from a story that has to do with his little boy, and it's pretty funny. And actually, I told the story last night for fun as a test to see if I could remember it correctly. But he should be back soon. He'll know the answer to that, because I'm taking this approach where I've not done any outside research, and I've only been going off of, I came into this completely blind for the trial and going off of just what's in the trial. And if they've said that in the trial, I missed it or I forgot, because this feels like forever ago. However, DSN, and I think there's another person who's sometimes here who also has been fully involved in following this outside of the trial. Because see, the trouble is, like, the prosecution's not giving us any evidence. So that's why it's difficult, right? For those of us who are going off of only what's only in the trial, we don't have a whole lot. But if what is it? I need Z's or DSN are here, then either of them, they might know the answer to that about the phone under the body. But yeah, that is interesting. Huh. Good question. I hope someone will pop in that can answer that for us.
Well, I think even assuming that, as far as relevance is concerned, Your Honor, there is no evidence here of a fight at all. There is no evidence that this witness was even present at the house at the same time as the victim. There's no evidence of any animus between this witness and the victim. There is no evidence whatsoever, as I stated, that he was even present at the same place at the same time on the night with John O'Keefe, on the night that John O'Keefe was killed. There is no evidence from even these videos of any physical altercation having taken place.
Now remember,
so whatever.
Remember, it was really interesting, and it will have a timestamp when I finish the timestamps from last night. But remember that everybody so far, in terms of this entire family and all the people who testified, right, have said that John O'Keefe never came to the house, right? Like, the only reason they know he was there was, like, they saw the body in the yard, right? Or they didn't see the body. Sorry, the body was found in the yard, and then one or two of the the Brian Albert Jr.'s friends saw him in the car, whatever. But everyone was saying the same thing. He didn't come to the house. It was so crazy last night, y'all, when we were doing the recap, and Allie McCabe, I guess, slips up and says that Colin Albert was never at the house at the same time John was there. And so I'm going to put a timestamp there for that. But it's just interesting because he's actually just now in other words, we actually don't. It's funny to me that Lolly's arguing based on what time he thinks John O'Keefe was there or whatever, because he's not said that to us. Literally, Lolly has given us nothing. So it's like he's arguing a ghost or something here, right? Like he's not giving us any evidence to his theory of the case. So it's pretty silly.
Juvenile beef that he and his friends had with individuals from another town. There's no evidence whatsoever of physical altercation. There's no evidence that there's a physical altercation even in this case. So to allow counsel to introduce this purely for prejudicial reasons and to invite the jury to speculate as to what it is essentially does nothing but divert the jury's attention away from the facts of the case and what the evidence of the case is, and more so is just there's no evidence of anything in this case.
Dude, truer words. Hold on. Truer words have never been spoken. I forgot he said that, y'all. I'm gonna have to do a clip of that. By the way, Victor, we've got a bunch of fancy new tricks here. Like we've gotten high tech with it. So we have a Discord now, and we have some other fun things like with Nightbot and like some little sound effects and stuff. But y'all, I need to clip this. Let me rewind that. That is Lolly just did. He doesn't even know. Truer words have never been spoken.
Divert the jury's attention away from the facts of the case and what the evidence of the case is, and more so is just there's no evidence of anything in this case.
There's no evidence of anything in this case. Correct, sir. Please help us.
May I begin briefly?
Yes.
In terms of evidence of a fight, I don't know what Mr. Lau is talking about. He says there's no evidence of a fight in this case. John O'Keefe looks like he had been beaten to death.
Yeah, it's
He's
bad.
got 2 black eyes, a laceration over his right eye, a laceration over his nose, a giant wound on the back of his head, and he doesn't look like he was hit by a car. He looks like he was in a physical altercation. It's as plain as the nose on your face. And we have evidence that we have witnesses who are going to propound that evidence and present that evidence. So Mr. Lally and the Commonwealth can take whatever position they want to. If they think those injuries are consistent with being hit by a 6,000-pound truck, they can knock themselves out. That is not the state of the case, and they don't get to dictate the state of the facts. The facts speak for themselves. Second, with regard to whether or not Mr. Albert was home that night, or at the home that night in a position to be able to engage in a physical altercation, which, by the way, takes about that long, that is predicated on his own family members covering for him. Every one of the witnesses who testified basically are friends and families of the Alberts.
I could listen to lawyers argue all day. I fucking love it. And he's doing great. It doesn't surprise me because obviously he's brilliant. I really didn't appreciate him. Okay, I have to say, just full disclosure, Unetti was my favorite for this team. I didn't really fully maybe appreciate his abilities until today with Jen. It definitely changed. That was masterful. I mean, I can only imagine how many attorneys would have failed miserably with her. Dude, I can't wait to point it out on the recap. There were some moments, there was several moments where I got goosebumps, like the type I like it was like moving to me, like the way he dude, just incredible. So I would say that they're both my favorite now. But having said that, I love hearing him argue, and he does a phenomenal job here. And they do it really quickly. It's so funny. In other trials, we see where they're arguing for indefinitely, it seems like, right? Which I love it. I'll sit there and watch the whole thing. But dude, Judge Bev gives them like 2 minutes. It's
in
insane.
mind, Your Honor, I don't think
they have to make their point getting it out.
Colin Albert was hidden, specifically and intentionally hidden from all of law enforcement for the first several months of this investigation. Nobody was willing to even say he was at the house. That is highly, highly suspicious. Given the gravity of what we have now, I would take an issue with one thing Mr. Lally said. He said this diverts the jurors' attention. I would agree it diverts their attention. It diverts their attention to somebody who possibly could be involved with this, who was not.
Right. Well said.
And I'll submit.
Dude, he took Lolly's words and flipped them around to his own benefit. Bravo to you, sir. That was awesome. He's like, yeah, it diverts their attention to the other person who maybe could have really done it.
Mr. Albert, before we took a break, you had mentioned that you've never been in a fight.
Correct.
You stand by that testimony?
Correct.
Good
I'd
point.
like you to take a look at a video. It's been
Need more videos. Here we go,
marked
guys. Brace yourselves. Brace
Sorry, it's
yourselves.
evidence number 86. I'm going to
Here
play
it
the short
comes.
video for you, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
Wild.
Yo, your Benton's boys. I will beat all your asses. I promise you, I will fuck you all up. Pull up, bitch.
The Adele in the background makes it.
Man, let's-
I want
Did
to
you
watch
guys
that
recognize
again.
what was depicted
I want to watch that again.
in that testimony?
Correct.
I'd like you to take a look at a video. It's been marked for. Sorry, it's evidence number 86. I'm going to play this short video for you, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
Yo, your Benton's boys. I will beat all your asses. I promise you, I will
Oh, no,
fuck
maybe
you
you're
all
right.
up.
Maybe it is karaoke.
Pull up, bitch.
Maybe it is karaoke. That's a good point, Wifey. Very
Did
good.
you recognize what was depicted in that
Yeah, a
video?
bunch of girls singing
Yes.
out of
Who was
tune.
that?
Me.
How funny.
Approximately when was that video taken?
Around my sophomore year in high school.
Sophomore year or senior year?
Lies.
Say around my sophomore year in high school.
Why do you say your sophomore year when you previously, well, let me ask it a different way. Did you previously testify at a different hearing back in July of 2023?
Yes.
You were asked about this video, weren't you?
Yes.
You were asked about another video at the same time, correct?
Correct.
And in that hearing, you said you believe that was taken closer to your junior year or senior year in high school, correct?
Correct.
And that was under the oath,
Correct.
same oath that you took here.
Correct.
Closer in time to the events in question, and at that time you said your junior year or senior year in high school, correct?
Correct.
If it was your senior year in high school, what year would that have been?
21, 22. So 2021, 2022.
Going into 2022, correct?
Yeah.
The same year that John O'Keefe passed away.
Correct.
What did you mean by, I'm gonna fuck you up?
That I was going to beat them up.
Actually, you didn't say beat them up. You said, I'm gonna beat your ass, didn't you?
Yes.
That was a threat, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was a threat directed at some other individuals with whom you had some sort of a beef or a problem.
Correct.
And your resolution of that problem is, I'm gonna fuck you up, I'm gonna beat your ass, right?
Correct.
But you've never been in a fight.
Never.
Benton's, bro. Fuck you. Fuck you.
How satisfying too, though. How satisfying though to be able to curse like that, like in court, right? Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Loved ones. That's okay. No one can type here. You're right. You fit right in. Yeah.
Good go, boy. You be knocked out. Hey, yo. Bang, bang.
He's such a fucking idiot.
May I inquire? Yes. Mr. Albert, who was that in that video?
Me.
Was that taken around the same time?
Yes.
You indicated, you're a bitch, bro. Right?
Correct.
Was that a threat?
Yes.
More of an insult?
Yeah. More of an insult.
Calling someone out?
Yep.
Making them feel bad?
Yeah.
Prompting them to maybe fight?
Objection, Your Honor.
Yeah, I'll ask that question differently, Mr. Jackson.
Also called him a pussy, didn't you?
Correct.
Derogatory comment?
Correct.
And then you said, KO, bang bang. Right?
Correct.
What's KO mean?
Knockout.
And what does bang bang mean?
I'm not sure, honestly.
You were just
I
talking
believe
about
that.
knocking somebody
He's
out.
such an idiot, man.
Correct.
And the bang bang just sort of flowed.
Exactly.
Was that a threat?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
these
right.
threats that we've just talked about, that we've just seen, these are threats of physical violence, right?
Correct.
You're not threatening to hurt their feelings or send them a mean text, right?
No.
You're threatening to kick their ass, right?
Correct.
To get physical, right?
Yes.
To ball up your fists and beat the shit out of them.
Objection.
Can you answer that? Will you answer that, please?
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
can you repeat the question?
Probably shouldn't. You were threatening to ball up your fist and beat the heck out of them.
Objection.
Y'all, look at you. Watch. I'm gonna back it up. Just say, look. Watch Unetti. Unetti he'll when I back it up in a sec, you can see he's watching his partner and probably his friend, and it's so cute. You can see he's like, really admires them. I bet they really enjoy watching each other because they're both so talented. And I keep thinking, wow, it must be incredible to see them working together in the evenings and planning, their examinations and stuff. Man, I would love to be a fly on those
The
walls.
shit out of them.
Objection.
Can you answer that? Will you answer that, please?
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
Probably shouldn't.
Here, look at
You
Unetti,
were
guys.
threatening to ball up your
Look at it.
fist and beat the heck out of them.
Objection.
It's like that look of like
Oh, no.
admiration.
Is that what you were threatening to do?
Yes.
When you testified in a separate proceeding in July of 2023,
Like he's doing our
you actually
caption,
showed up
closed
for
captioning
questioning
by wifey.
live, correct?
That has a nice ring to it. Closed captions by wifey.
Yes.
And you showed up at the time in July of 2023 with your knuckles busted up again, didn't you?
Y'all.
Correct.
And you were
So remember, whenever they talk about these there were like a fuck ton of grand jury testimonies, right, for this. It's insane. It's really unusual. But whenever they don't talk about specifically that it was with the state, or they don't mention any of the attorneys that are present at this trial being there, it means that it's the feds. They just can't say feds. He showed up, you guys, at a grand jury, a federal grand jury, at a completely different time from at any of those pictures, with his knuckles all busted up. That's why Alan even said he wasn't exaggerating when he said, I'm surprised he didn't show up today with his knuckles busted up. What he's saying is his knuckles have constantly been looking like this, which is kind of insane. He showed up to a federal grand jury. I mean, what?
asked about your knuckles at that time, correct?
Correct.
And that time you said, oh no, I didn't fall down on black ice and slip and break my fall with my knuckles like you said here. You said, oh, I hit a heavy bag and busted my knuckles up on a heavy bag, right?
Correct.
So that heavy bag was you practicing boxing, right?
It was me getting cardio, yes.
Which is in a form of fighting.
In a form, yeah.
Punching a bag.
Yep.
That's how you choose to do
Right.
your cardio.
Sometimes.
And you're right-handed,
Yes.
and it was your right hand that was busted up.
Correct.
So when you throw your hardest punch, that's with your right hand, isn't it?
Oh, that's,
I'm not sure. I'd say they're equal.
yeah,
You're
right.
equally strong
Wise.
with both hands.
I'd say so.
So in your words,
Guys, that was brilliant. Let me point to how brilliant that was in case anyone didn't catch it. That was brilliant. A really good attorney, man, can do this, where no matter what the answer is, it works for them. So let me back it up to the question. Hold on. This is a beautiful thing to watch.
at that time you said, oh no, I didn't fall down on black ice and slip and break my fall with my knuckles like you said here. You said, oh, I hit a heavy bag and busted my knuckles up on a heavy bag, right?
Correct.
So that heavy bag was you practicing boxing, right?
It was me getting cardio, yes.
Which is in a form of fighting,
In a form, yeah.
punching a bag.
Yep.
That's how you choose to do your cardio.
Sometimes.
And you're right-handed,
Yes.
and it was your right hand that was busted up.
Correct.
So when you throw your hardest punch, that's with your right hand, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I'd say they're equal.
So he says when you throw a punch with your right hand, or that's your hardest punch, right? And he says, I think they're equal. But now listen to how he says this.
You're equally strong with both hands.
Equally strong with both hands. Brilliant. That's even better, right? That's even better than having one hand stronger than the other.
I'd say so.
So in your words,
He
you
said
can
yes.
fuck somebody up with
Good
either
job.
hand, right?
Objection, Your Honor.
You answer that?
No, I'm not saying that.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Closed captions by
Okay,
wifey.
Ms. Smiley?
Now, as far as those videos that you were just shown, how old were you?
Around 16, I'd say around 16 years old.
So you believe it was sometime in your sophomore year of high school?
Yes, that's what I believe.
And so that would have been a couple years before your senior year of high school, which you were in January 2022, correct?
Correct.
And this video, as far as you recall who you were referencing in those videos?
An advantage club hockey team.
Now, this is interesting. I am so curious because nobody's really delved into what is the deal with this hockey connection. There is a hockey connection. And you know what, you guys, we're going to hear some of it today because when I was editing this video, there was testimony from Matt McCabe, who we're going to hear from next, that I heard when it happened. But I don't think anyone, including myself, appreciated that it was significant because it was happening at the beginning of direct examination where Lolly's doing his thing, where he's asking everybody everything about the sports teams, and it's going on and on and on and on and on. And you're like, when are we going to get to cross? Or at least when are we going to get to the part with the snow at the waterfall so we can then get to the house and then get to anything relevant? And it was like this whole preamble he did with every witness, right? And you're sort of just tuning it out. There was something in there that I caught when I was editing the video, and I was like, holy shit. The hockey thing keeps coming up. So we have to just keep this in mind as we listen here.
A club hockey team, were they about the same age as you?
Yes.
And did you know any of those people?
Nope.
And were they, the club hockey team, was that within the same town as you were?
I'm not sure.
Did you play hockey
Nope.
at any point in time in high school?
Never.
And was this just you sending them videos, or was this some sort of argument or something going back and forth?
It was an argument going back and forth.
So what, if anything, did you or any of your friends receive in regard to from
Yes,
that
Twitter!
club hockey team?
We received texts like being name called, like calling
course you
pussies
can.
and words like that.
Shout out to Ireland.
Do you recall which came first as far as the text or the video?
I do not recall.
But similar, the text message that you received from this club hockey team, were they similar in nature to the videos that you posted?
Correct.
The hockey team. So, of course, Allie McCabe plays
Recall
hockey.
what the argument was about with this other group of kids from this club hockey team?
Yeah.
He's going to say here that it was over some girls. Now, here's the thing. Allie McCabe plays hockey. And we're going to hear something interesting from her dad, like I said, coming up here in just a second, that's going to have to do with hockey that happened on that same night as John O'Keefe's death. After the basketball game, there was something, we're going to hear about it, that had to do with the same hockey group. I don't know, man.
It was the girls in our friend group, a couple of the girls in our friend group, like hung out with them a few times. So like all my guy friends got a little salty about it. So that's why we kind of sent videos back and forth.
Now, you were asked some questions on cross-examination regarding whether or not you've been thinking about this case for the last 2.5 years. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you indicated that you had not, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Sorry.
And you had indicated in your testimony in response to that questioning, essentially not until people were writing things about you on the internet, correct? Correct. Can you expound upon that? Can you explain to the jury sort of when that occurred and what were the things that were being written about you on the internet?
I'd say about a little over a year. It started when people on Twitter, Instagram, social media were just coming at my family, calling us murderers, harassing us, showing up to our doorsteps, our sports games.
Classic for everyone we've heard in this group, right? Or the only time he's thinking about this case, it's not because of somebody died, even if it was a stranger, right? For fuck's sake. No, it's not that. It's because of how it affects him. And keep in mind, he's about to be talking about social media and issues on social media, and then we're going to hear some contradictions there. But y'all remind me not to forget when DSN comes back to ask him a question.
I mean, we couldn't leave the house without people taking pictures of us, and it's very terrible.
You're alive.
How's that going on?
The past year and change, a couple months. Past year and a couple months, I'd say.
To be clear, that night that you were at 34 Fairview Road at your uncle's house, January 28th and the 29th, at any point in time did you see John O'Keefe at that house, come into that house, around that house, at any point in time that you were there?
Never.
Nothing further.
Nothing, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Oh, here we go, guys.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the jurors.
Matthew McCabe,
It's really funny.
M.
Seeing him now actually feels different because now that we've seen his wife, you see the two, you can picture the two of them together. I don't know, it's just a different context. Boy, I swear, man.
CCABE,
And where do you live, sir?
Canton, Massachusetts.
And how long have you lived in Canton?
Be 20 years this coming June.
And your oldest daughter is Allie McCabe, is that right?
Now remember, keep an
Yes,
ear out
that's
for
correct.
Hockey shit. Hockey
And
shit.
do you work, sir?
Yes, I do.
What do you do for work?
I work for a information technology.
You know what? I just had an best Twitter is best for a reason. I just realized. So you might have intended this, but I didn't pick up on it. But the what the puck, I was like, oh my god, hold on, it just dawned on me. We could do what the puck because we'd what the truck for Murdoch, and we can do what the puck for this. So I'm gonna make a command. Hold on, as this plays right.
Technology solutions firm.
And how long have you been doing that?
2009. So I think I'm coming on 15 years.
Need the numbers in his head.
And does your wife work?
No.
What does your wife do?
Stay at home, raises the kids. Homemaker.
If I could turn your attention to January 22nd.
Yeah, I left that in because I thought it was
January
when you said it.
2022. Do you recall those dates?
Yes, I do.
Recall what days of the week?
Friday into
Ooh,
Saturday.
this microphone is a
This
whole
was
atrocity.
A home game, a road game, if you recall?
That evening, it was a home game.
Do you recall anything about the game as far as who they were playing or if they won or anything like that?
Yes, it was. They were playing the town of Foxborough High School, and they did not win. They went into overtime and lost.
Prior to you and your wife entering into the waterfall, you recall what, if anything, you did or who, if anyone, you were talking to in the park?
Oh my god, Lolly.
Yes, on the car ride from my house to the waterfall, and while I was in the parking lot, I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone.
And do you recall just generally what the conversation was about?
Yes, I do.
And what was it about?
It was about my daughter,
Hockey.
my oldest daughter, Allie, who we mentioned. It was about her hockey team
See?
and
See?
her hockey coach.
Y'all, I don't know why I get this. Is hockey involved in this whole thing? Was John O'Keefe, did he have some relation to the hockey? I mean, we still have so much to learn, but also here's a new command for you guys. Like to this, I say, I have this response to say to his testimony about the hockey team regarding Allie. After what we just heard from freaking Colin with the trying to threaten the advantage hockey team or whatever.
Talking to one of the hockey coaches.
And when you were talking to this person, this is inside the car, is that correct?
That is correct.
Suggestion, best winner.
Despite it being sort of a wife's car, was your phone hooked up to the speakers? Did you have a Bluetooth or anything like that?
I don't know if I connected mine to the Bluetooth or not. I don't recall if I was connected to the Bluetooth.
Oh, this is
No,
great. Wait.
I know my phone connects, so possibly. I don't know for sure if it was
The longest
100% connected.
we're
that
going to
evening.
hear the longest answer, and it happens in like two parts of whether or not he connected to Bluetooth.
Now, with respect to it being your
No, wait,
wife's car,
there's more.
is there, when both of you are in the car, is there sort of a default as to which of your phones would connect to the Bluetooth, yours versus hers?
If look at it that way, it would be my wife's because it was her car.
So the car would probably recognize her device over your device, correct?
That is correct.
Now,
Actually, I started the call definitely on my phone because my kids were I was on the call for a while. So I think I had the kids still in the car
Oh my God.
when I was dropping them off. So I wouldn't have them listening to the call. So I must have been on, again, I don't remember, but I must have been
Nobody
listening
cares.
holding it in my hand.
Wow.
And do you recall specifically what you were drinking on that night?
I do.
And what were you drinking?
I was drinking vodka with water and a splash of Crystal Light.
And is that something that you would normally drink?
No.
And why were you drinking that on that?
I was in a diet competition with other people in the town, so I was trying to stay away from any beer, which would be what I typically would drink.
You mentioned someone by the name of Brian Higgins.
Crystal
did you
Light.
know Brian Higgins prior to that evening?
Yes,
I mean, how did you know him?
I had met Brian a few times, social settings. I recall meeting him at the Junction one evening. I believe I met him at a graduation party. I don't know how many times I met Brian, but I met him maybe 3, 4 times. I don't know exactly how many. So I knew who he was.
You knew who he was as far as he was friends or friendly with your brother-in-law, Brian Albert, correct?
Yes,
And that's how you knew him, was through Brian Albert?
yes.
And do you know where Brian Albert Sr. and Brian Higgins had been prior to them coming to the waterfall?
Yes, I was informed that they were in New York, coming back from New York from a funeral of a New York police officer.
And both of them, as far as you knew, Brian Albert Sr. and Brian Higgins, they were in law enforcement, is that correct?
Yes.
With regard to Mr. O'Keefe first, how was it that you knew Mr. O'Keefe?
I've met John O'Keefe when he started to be the caretaker for his niece and nephew after their parents had passed.
And specifically, you're referring to Patrick and Kaylee Furbush, is that correct?
That is correct.
So their mother and father tragically passed away, and Mr. O'Keefe then became...
This courtroom has so many
their guardian,
sounds. It's
correct?
hilarious.
That is correct.
And when you met Mr. O'Keefe, is that when you were living
That's so cute.
at the house on Sutcliffe?
Yes.
And where was that house in relation to where Mr. O'Keefe initially lived with his niece and nephew?
A couple 100 yards. 2 different streets. It's a neighborhood with multiple streets. My house was on Sutcliffe. Drive down Sutcliffe, maybe pass 1, 2, 3, 4 houses. Took a right, and that was John. That was the street that the kids lived on, maybe 4 houses up on the right. You know, in essence, acting as a mother and a father. And so you do a lot of communicating through my wife in regards to needing help and things of that nature.
And in particular, his niece Kaylee and your daughter, who was around the same age, were they friends?
Yes, they were friends.
And about how close were they, particularly around that younger age?
They were very close in the young age. Kaylee would spend a lot of time at our house, spend a lot of time sleeping over. So they were very close.
Now, with respect to the defendant, Ms. Reed, when was it that you first met her?
Crystal Light is like really funny. I remember from when I was a little kid, that was like one of the first food, like, I don't know if you call it a food, kind of. It was the first product that I remember that would like have commercials and stuff where it was catering to weight loss. Because when I was little, that was like a newer thing on the market. It was like, how to say it? Like, I don't want to say it wasn't like it was taboo, but it was kind of like, I don't know, weird. So Crystal Light was like one of the first diet products. And I think it's just like honestly, I don't really even know. I think it's like a powdered sweetener. Like you can pour it into water. Maybe if someone else let me know if you've had it. But from what I understand, it's like a sugar packet type thing, but maybe it's like fake sugar and you pour it into water. And I guess it was a substitute for lemonade or something like that. But see, back then there weren't options like that for people who were on a diet. So that's what I think it is. Yeah.
It's COVID 2020. We met her
Weird though they would have it
summertime
in the bar.
of,
Brought it with them.
I think it was the COVID year. I think it was 2020 summer.
Can you recall
It's
the
like not something
circumstances
you
of
find
that,
in a
or
bar though,
how
you know?
you came to meet her at that time?
Yes, I do.
And could you
Well
explain to
said,
the jury
Candace.
what were
Well
the
said.
circumstances?
There you
Where
go.
did you meet her?
John had reached out to my wife, Jen. It was on a Saturday. I don't know if they connected that Saturday or the Friday, but they connected. John asked if he could come by the house with the kids. We have a pool, so he wanted to come by with the kids swimming and wanted to introduce Karen to us. Specifically wanted to introduce Karen to my wife, Jen.
You know why that was?
Yes, because they were dating, and he informed my wife that Karen had MS, and my wife has MS. So he thought it'd be good for the two of them to get to know each other, could have conversations with each other, obviously both suffering from MS.
And as far as you knew, or what, if anything, let me ask you this. As far as your relationship with Mr. O'Keefe, is someone he was dating or what was going on with someone he was dating's relationship, is that the kind of thing that the two of you would discuss?
You're asking John and I if he would. No, John and I don't recall ever having any conversations about.
Like, what the hell, Ollie? Like, clearly this witness is like, what the hell type of question is that? Although we see this from every witness with Ollie, because every question is like, what?
His relationships.
Well, yeah, the problem is that one chronic illness buddy threw the other under the bus by being really the key witness and the reason why they're being charged with murder. Unfortunately, I know you probably don't know who he was referring to, but he's referring to Jen McCabe, who testifies after this fellow, and she also testified today, and she looks like this. Just real quick.
Is not extensively. Speaking about it is very painful and difficult.
What does extensively mean? More than twice?
Well, you tell me.
I'm asking the questions, Ms. McCabe. That's how this works.
I understand, but
And that happened.
He's like evil incarnate. It's bad. It's really bad. Oh man. Yeah. Bad. So yeah, but I totally like normally, yes. And maybe it started out like that. I don't know. We still don't really know what all went wrong that caused all this to happen. Was there was somebody sleeping with somebody? You know what I mean? Like, it's like sometimes that can cause weird shit because it really doesn't make sense. Like, we're all friends, right? It's just very weird.
With me directly.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
applies to
Venom,
the
definitely.
applies to
That's
any
right.
other relationship you had while the two of you were friends, correct?
Correct.
She does look like a cobra, doesn't she? That's what it is.
Huh.
Her mouth looks like a cobra
Get
spitting,
water.
like literally. Yeah. Dude, him and
Now, sir, if I could ask, as far as Ms.
No, I'm
O'Keefe
sorry.
is concerned, do you recall anything
I
about-
left that in because I think it's a miracle. Let's watch that again. It's special. It's like the behavior panel would have a field day with this. They might just watch it for fun on repeat. Let's look at that.
discuss?
You're asking John and I if he would. No, John and I don't recall ever having any conversations about his relationships with me directly.
And that applies to the defendant, Ms. Reed, or applies to any other relationship you had while the two of you were friends, correct?
Correct.
Okay, this is incredible.
Huh. You get water.
So you guys, like, this is.
Now, sir, if I could ask, as far as Mr. O'Keefe was concerned, do you recall anything about what he was wearing that night?
Amazing. A plus.
I recall a baseball cap, and he tends to brim it over a little bit, and shirt and jeans. I don't know exactly what he was wearing.
Do you recall seeing him at any point in time with any kind of winter coat or heavy coat or anything like that?
Not that I recall. If he had one on, he had one on. I don't recall it.
Duh.
And do you recall what John was drinking that night?
I believe he was drinking Bud Light beer.
Is that pretty typical for him?
Majority of times I saw John, yes, he was drinking Bud Light. I do recall when he came to my house for that first meet, he was drinking Bud Light limes, which I thought was interesting, but it was at a pool. Maybe it was a summer drink for him. I'm not sure.
Fair enough.
I think I gave him a hard time.
It is. It really is. It's like you don't have to know anything. It's so everything is so over the top that it's really obvious. I mean, this is really something else.
Now, with reference to Miss Reed that night, what, if anything, did you observe her to be drinking or have with her?
She was drinking a clear liquid. I just assumed it was a vodka soda or vodka something.
And not
And,
water.
as far as the absent the crystal light, which I'll leave that alone for now. But absent the crystal light, was it similar to the drink that you were having?
Probably
that
trying
night?
to be funny.
Yes, could have been vodka, water. Exactly, I don't know.
Now,
Water.
do you know where the two of them, being Mr. O'Keefe and the defendant, do you know where they had come from prior to coming into the waterfall?
John had said they were came over from across the street from CF McCarthy's.
Now, let me ask you, as far as you were going to the waterfall, or your understanding was that it was your nephew, Brian Albert Jr.'s birthday, correct?
Yes.
And was he at the waterfall at any time?
Or
that you
Brian
were there?
Albert Jr.
No.
And at some point, did you learn where he was?
Yes, I learned he was
Left
still
out of his
home.
own birthday party.
And was there any conversation, or do you know why he was still home?
My understanding is I thought we were waiting for him. He never showed up. My understanding was he chose to stay home. I had a couple friends over the house.
You mentioned that you had left the waterfall sometime after midnight. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And before we get to that, over the course of the evening at the waterfall, did you have occasion to have conversation with either Mr. O'Keefe or the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And would that be both?
Yes.
And starting with Mr. O'Keefe, what, if any, conversation, generally speaking, do you recall having with Mr. O'Keefe that evening?
I believe that night I think that night he was out because Kaylee, maybe they just got the acceptance from Kaylee. He was excited about her acceptance to what's the school? Bishop Fian, a local high school.
That's a school.
And that was
Best Woodard. Do you know how you would spell that? I know, not Bishop, but the second word. I can't figure out for the life of me how you would spell that.
something that you were aware of that you had applied for to get into that school, correct?
Yes.
Ian, it sounds like, but I don't know.
And with respect to Ms. Reed, what, if any, conversations you recall in regard to her?
Normal conversation. She, hi, how you doing? Good to see you.
You're best. You're best for a reason, best.
She made a reference to myself asking how Jen and I do it. And I said, she was talking about with the 4 girls. How do we do it? How do you raise the 4 girls? You guys look happy. And I actually joked to her. I said, well, we're at a bar. Considering.
You know what?
Yeah.
That hits differently having now met his wife on cross-examination. Yeah, because like this dude lives with that. I mean, not that yeah.
It's obviously any marriage will tell you have your ups and downs. But brief, conversational, nothing of any substance. Just good to see you.
And when you get into the car, what, if any, communication did you become aware of between your wife and Mr. O'Keefe?
When I got into the vehicle, my wife received a text from John, and it said, where to? I think he was looking for the address. I told my wife we were starting to drive out of the parking lot. I told her just call him instead of texting him back.
So rather than text while she's driving, you advise her just call him back.
Correct.
Here's
Did
the
you
thing.
call
She did.
I wish DSM was back because I'm really curious about the cell phone. Because now I'm thinking about his cell phone. And here's the thing. Why the fuck they've not presented they have his cell phone extraction. And again, I have not finished the timestamps from last night, but guys, there's a part in there, and I will timestamp it, where the Lolly is pulling up some exhibits or something like that on the screen. He's not paying attention, and he pulls up. I paused it in the video. I pause it there where it shows their folder of all of their different exhibits that they have, and it's like the folder is like titled like prosecution exhibits or something like that. And it has all the different categories. And it's like, oh, that's everything that they could potentially show us, right? And it says, you can see it right on there. It's like John O'Keefe cell phone extraction or whatever. It's like, why are you not starting with that? Because think about it, guys. If they do the cell phone shit on him, like we know, the pings, we know all this so well from Murdoch, right? Like they could figure out exactly where he was, especially when he receives those phone calls from Jen McCabe, which she later deletes when she's either, I mean, she could be calling him to figure out where he was, or maybe she's calling him to find his phone or whatever the case may be. But regardless, I mean, why are they not showing us? It's just really, it's really getting, it's beyond concerning. Thank you, Best Twitter. Appreciate it. Because like, it almost made me wonder, do they not have it, right? But they have it, so.
And with respect to that Bluetooth that we were discussing earlier within the call, this call from your wife Jennifer to John O'Keefe, was that using the Bluetooth technology?
I'm assuming it was. I don't recall, but I knew he was on the phone asking what the address was.
Let me ask you this: could you hear both sides of the conversation?
I could hear him. Yes.
So you heard your wife talking and you heard John talking, correct?
Yes.
And as far as that communication with reference to where to or where to go or the address, you described to the jury sort of what that conversation consisted of.
Conversation was the address, 34 Fairview.
Correct. Yes.
And I actually was definitely mumbling stuff from my seat saying, come out.
But I can't imagine for the life of me that, I mean, because cell phone data comes into every trial. I mean, it's like the first fucking thing usually. It's like the foundation of the, I mean, because it's really good evidence, really, you know what I mean? Like it's good evidence because it's hard to kind of dispute it. You know, people will do it, right? But like for the most part, even like in Murdoch, as an example, I mean, in any case, for the most part, they end up having to just agree that the cell phone data is what the cell phone data is. And then it's just how you try to argue it, right? Best Twitter, what are you thinking you could Google? Are you going to Google the school that Kaylee got accepted to?
Take a right, take a left on Sherman and 34 Fairview. And that was that initial call, was just giving him the address and telling him Sherman's the easiest way.
And so when you say that initial call, was there a subsequent call while you were still en route to 34 Fairview?
Yes, there was a call a few minutes later. Somehow, I don't know why, but somehow they didn't know where the house was. I recall, again, my assumption would be they had come from Sherman, from Chapman Street. My wife referenced a friend of Kaylee's who lives off of Fairview. And we said, well, you know where this child lives? He said, yes. Okay. Drive past her street and the house will come up on the left.
And the friend of Kaylee's, what was her name?
Her name is Bella.
So do you recall whether it was you or your wife that made reference to Bella's house?
I think we both did. I think I said it, and then I think my wife repeated it.
And that was someone, the Bella child was someone who was friends
Bella
with both your
child
daughter
is
and
so
Kaylee,
weird,
is that correct?
Molly. Wow.
Yes,
Around the same age?
exact same age, same grade.
Now, when you were talking on this second conversation, again, you could hear both sides of the conversation, is that right?
That's correct.
And as far as Mr. O'Keefe's side of the conversation, what, if anything, did he say as far as who was coming or who he was with at the time?
He didn't make any reference to, you're asking if he made reference of anybody else? Is that what you're asking?
What I'm asking is,
Yeah.
when he was saying,
Wally
as far
doesn't even
as
know what he's
looking for the
asking.
house, was he
Oh,
saying
we're on our way. Okay, great, we're on our way.
Yeah, it was a stupid question.
And from, obviously, the earlier interaction that you had with him and him saying we, who did you infer that we to be?
Karen.
And at any point in time during the conversation that you had where you were hearing both sides, did you hear Miss Reed in the background at any point?
I do not recall hearing Miss Reed, no.
Now, about how far a drive is it, how long a drive is it roughly from the waterfall to 34th Fairview?
The way I would go, 4 minutes, give or take, 5 minutes. There's multiple ways, but depends on how you go, I guess.
Obviously.
And the way that you go, as far as what you're talking about, is that your recollection of how or where your wife drove that night?
Yes.
Now, as far as when you arrive at the house,
That's the stupidest
where did
answer
your
I've ever
wife
heard in my entire
park the vehicle
lifetime.
in
You guys, listen to this answer again. This is just so stupid. It's worth listening to again. When he asks him like how long it takes to get there.
key side of the conversation, what if anything did he say as far as who was coming or who he was with at the time?
He didn't make any reference to, you're asking if he made reference of anybody else? Is that what you're asking?
What I'm asking is when he was saying as far as looking for the house, was he?
Oh, we're on our way. Okay, great, we're on our way.
And from obviously the earlier interaction that you had with him and him saying we, who did you infer that we to be?
Karen.
And at any point in time during the conversation that you had where you were hearing both sides, did you hear Miss Reed in the background at any point?
I do not recall hearing Miss Reed, no.
Now, about how far a drive is it, how
This
long a
question
drive
right
is
here.
it, roughly from
Listen to his answer.
the
You guys,
waterfall to
it's the same.
34th Fairview?
The way I would go, 4 minutes, give or take, 5 minutes. There's multiple ways, but depends on how you go, I guess.
And
That
the way
depends
that
on how
go,
you
as far as
go.
what you're talking about, is that
Wow.
your recollection of how or
Wow.
where your wife drove that night?
Yes.
Now, as far as when you arrive at the house, where did your wife park the vehicle in relation to the house?
She pulled the vehicle into the driveway.
And you're obviously familiar with the address or the residence at 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes, I am.
Been there several times before this evening.
Yes, I have.
And essentially, there's two garage doors on the house. There's one on the left, one on the right. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recall whether or not your wife parked on the left side of the driveway or the right side of the driveway?
I believe it was the left, but the driveway is fairly wide. It kind of widens out, not just the two doors. So I don't know if she was right on the left where the where the walkway is, or if she was one kind of more in the middle, because that driveway you could pull up even on the right of her, but somewhere I don't know exactly, but she pulled into the driveway.
So she pulls in the driveway, she parks, you guys go in the house, correct?
Yes.
When you get inside the house, who, if anyone, do you observe there?
When we entered the house, we observed Caitlin, Brian Jr. Brian had two friends there, Julie Nagel and Sarah Levinson, Brian Higgins, and Brian Albert Sr.
And where in
Did I
the
say
house-
Nicole? Nicole, I don't know if I said Nicole.
And where in the house were they situated?
When I recall, everybody was congregated when you walk in the front door, to your right, there's a table, and then there's an open floor where it goes right to the kitchen and the room with the table. They just flow into each other. So people are surrounding either the island in the kitchen and or the table area.
And from your recollection, is that essentially where people mainly congregated throughout the course of the night that you were there?
Yes.
And about how long a period of time were you there at 34 Fairview that night?
Now remember, Colin Albert is the only person who uses the side door of the house that we've heard from with any of this testimony. I wrote it down last night. Colin Albert uses the side door. Everyone else uses the front door. Additionally, Allie, oh my God, McCabe is the only one to park in the driveway, and everyone else parks behind the cars in the driveway or by the mailbox or on the side of the road. She parks in the driveway. And I think there's probably a connection to that and Colin using the side door, which is closest to the driveway, which is also where the garage is. So just something to keep in mind.
Got the,
He's
I'd say a little over,
like that.
A little over an hour. No, got there about 12:20-ish. Left 1:40, 1:40, I don't know the exact time, 1:40, 1:45-ish. So,
You got there somewhere closer to 12:30 and you left somewhere closer to about 1:45, 2 a.m., is that correct?
got there about 12:20, give or take, and then, yeah, left about 1:40, 1:45. I don't know the specific time, but somewhere around there.
And similar to the question I asked you about the waterfall, as far as the, how would you describe sort of the mood or the demeanor of the group in the house when you got there?
Everybody was hanging out. I know Julie was excited. We just showed up. Good to see us. Brian, excited that we came by. Normal.
So, fair to say no tension, no arguments, nothing like that while you were at the house?
No.
And do you recall sort of what you were doing while you were at the house, or what the group was doing?
It kind of hanging out, talking, sitting around the table, engaging. Music was on. Just having a good time, just hanging out, talking, enjoying each other's company.
And at any point in time in the evening when you were there at 34 Fairview Road, was Colin Albert there at any point?
No, he was not.
You didn't see him that night at all?
Never saw him.
And obviously, you know your oldest daughter, Allie, correct?
Yes, I do.
And at any point in time when you were at 34 Fairview, did you see her vehicle or anything?
Oh, hey, DS9, glad you're back. Question for you. Wow. Question for you. So this is our friend Victor Roth actually was mentioning this. Do you happen to know, was John O'Keefe's cell phone found underneath his body, or do you know where it was found? Because I thought you might know that.
Did you have any knowledge that your daughter, Allie, was there at the time that you were there?
No, she was not.
She wasn't there, you didn't see her there, you didn't know if she had been there before you or anything like that?
Correct. Correct.
Now, at some point, you mentioned that Julie Nagle was looking outside for something, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
How long was that in reference to after you arrived and then when that happened?
Again, I don't know the exact time. I'm going to say could have been 3 minutes, could have been 5 minutes, somewhere in that vicinity. We arrived, said hello, good to see everybody, and shortly after, she had mentioned that her brother was there to pick her up.
Now, as far as the Levinson and Miss Nagle, they were friends of your nephew, Brian Albert Jr., is that right?
That's correct.
And did you know them at all at that time, when you arrived there on the 28th?
Miss Levinson, I did not know. First time I met her. I definitely had met Julie before. She had, Brian and her hang out. So I definitely met her. I think she's been to I don't know if it was previous to this or after this, but Julie has, helped my my nephew Brian,
Mother of God,
when we
what a
go on vacation.
disaster.
We have a dog, and Brian would usually be the go-to to, let the dog out, etc.
This is a lot of exposition. Thank you, DSN. I missed that at some point. I figured you would know. Awesome. So Victor, in case you don't see it, if you're listening, it was found under him in the snow. So it was like not in a pocket. Correct? It was not in anything. It was like just underneath of him. Because I think Victor was asking about that because he's been starting the episode from the beginning, and he started listening, or where he was at was like the part where I was talking about potentially the calls being trying to find his phone or whatever, if they didn't know where his phone was. So interesting. Thank you. Yeah, and again, I think you just now came back. I hope you had fun playing with your son. But like the other thing too is I already said this. I'll just say it again because it's just so insane. It's like, oh, like, hey, cell phone data, problem solved. Like we can use pings to know exactly where the phone was. We can know exactly where he was when Jen McCabe called him and then deleted calls and all this. I mean, that's what I'll be honest. I was pissed at myself that I didn't think of that. It didn't even occur to me because there was this whole elaborate thing of like, we knew that they were meeting up, right? So I guess it seemed plausible, like the calling to get directions. And then it was paired with this whole story about looking at the window. And we'd already heard that story from like all these different people. It wasn't until Alan said it today in cross. And I was like, holy shit. How did I not think of that? Obvious. That's brilliant. Like, wow, you know, I think 100%. But that what's so great about that, I mean, not great, but like the implications is like now the rest of the testimony that she had been building up all these lies on were founded upon these lies of those were phone calls back and forth. And that was coordinated with like looking at the window and stuff. So it completely changes her whereabouts. Like she doesn't have a window alibi anymore, essentially, right? Because also, if she's looking for a phone, she's going to be moving around, right? Also, honestly, you know what? If his phone was found under his body and she's looking for his phone, she would know the body was there, right? Unless she just doesn't ever find it. But like, if she's finding it, looking for it here, I guess maybe hearing it, I don't know. Or was it in the house and did they put it under his body? I mean, remember, like we know with Murdoch, right? With Paul's phone, we've seen stranger things. So I'm wondering if, dude, you know what, man, I wouldn't put past him. What if the phone was somewhere in the house or wherever, right? And then she was calling it to find it. Okay, here's the implications though. Either way, whether the phone was placed under him by Jen or somebody who found the phone elsewhere and put it under him, because we know that I'm sure it was never tested for fingerprints or anything, right? Or if that wasn't the case, but let's say he died and he had his phone on him and they were looking for the phone for some other reason and looking for it and knew where it was over near but either way, people in that house, but at the very least, Jen would have known that there was a dead body, right? I mean, there's just no way around it. Yeah. And the window alibi only worked. It's so funny. That would have never worked I feel like that would have never worked for me, except that we've heard this from so many witnesses. And now it's interesting to think about, right? Because what if they're all doing it? Like we heard from countless witnesses, everybody looking out the fucking window, even from Matt. He even extends it into the next day with the blinds, looking out the blinds. And I was joking about it. I was joking about it whenever he first started testifying about how everyone's looking out the window. But I didn't even put two and two together that this is maybe another thing that they all talked about and agreed on, right? Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense. Who just sits there and looks out the window? And having said that, remember, no one seems to look out the window and A, see the body, or B, look out the window when there's all the ambulances and fire trucks. Like that's when no one's looking out the window. Like it's just like, wow, how did we all miss it? They all look out the window all the time until there's a lot of commotion and then no one looks.
And I know Julie has helped him. I just don't know if that was previous to that or after. But I definitely met Julie before, yes.
So you had met her before, but essentially met her as a friend of your nephews, correct?
Yes,
Not someone that you knew particularly well, is that fair to say?
correct. Didn't know her well.
So after about 3 to 5 minutes or so after you arrive, you observe Ms. Nagel looking outside, correct?
Yes, she was going
there we
out
go.
the door, correct.
There we go, looking
You know why
outside,
she was
guys.
going out the door?
Sister Nagel.
She said her brother was there to pick her up, but she didn't want to leave.
It makes no
At any
sense because
point
she
in time,
called
did
him to
either
pick her
yourself
up.
or your wife extend an offer to either Ms. Nagel or Ms. Levinson or both in regards
And
to getting
I've
home?
said this before, but Victor, just in case you haven't caught up, I have a thought too that perhaps they were trying to lure, we call him Brother Nagel because that's what lawyer, referred to him one time as Brother Nagel, and I thought it was fucking hilarious. So now I call them Brother Nagel and Sister Nagel. But anyway, I have a thought because of this whole thing that we've heard from several witnesses about how it was their idea at the house to invite him in, even though he'd never met any of them before and didn't even get out of his truck. Like, I have a thought, like, I wonder if they were trying to, like, invite him in and try to, pin the murder on him or whatever, right? Like, use him as a scapegoat. Just another thought, because it was weird, because they don't, like, why, like, they were going home. They're on their way home. They didn't get out of the car, or the truck, rather. Anyway.
Yes. My wife informed them that if they wanted to stay because we just got there, we would be more than willing to drive them home.
And fair to say at this point in time, you didn't even know where Ms.
Have you guys ever seen the SNL skit, The Californians? Because they have this really funny thing. Like, I feel like it's in like every episode, but there's like the one where they're like in front of the mirror. But then there's one, I think, where they do the looking out the window. That's what I keep picturing with these people, just really because it's so silly. The whole thought of it is so silly, and like they all say their vision is always obscured, right, with a blind or a drape. It just reminds me so much of that, like the caricature and like the memeability of it, just the unrealisticness of it. You know what I mean? They're all just sitting together looking out the window. It's just so. The FBI is investigating the investigation because have you seen the part with the Solo cups and the paper bags? That's actually just the tip of the iceberg. This is insane. This case is insane. It's going to be a big part of history. It's like we're watching history. Okay, yeah. So that's why I'm probably among other reasons, but also there's like the bigger picture too with like it's all law enforcement involved, right? Nothing was done properly. Everything was done badly, bad ways. All the rules. I mean, it's like nothing, absolutely no protocol was followed in any way, shape, or form. It's just, and of course the Alberts, I guess, have this reputation. Kind of reminds me of the Murdoch family, you know, with that. My DSN I'm sure DSN knows. I feel like I keep saying that when it comes to this case, DSN. I hope you don't mind. You're like the resident, you know, because I know you've been really kind of deep diving it and following it for a long time. But yeah, my understanding, again, DSN can correct me, is that they started investigating it probably this part I'm guessing on just because of my knowledge of the law, but probably due to a motion by the defense or something like that. Like I feel like at some point the defense was reaching out to the feds because they weren't getting anywhere with this judge. But that's just going off of kind of like my instinct and not actually, like, don't take my word for it. But in other words, I don't, like, they started investigating it. Okay, well, we can track it back to the grand juries, right? The first grand jury they had for the federal investigation was July of 23, I believe. Pretty sure. So that would mean the feds probably started investigating it slightly before that, if that's when they had the grand jury. But yeah, DSN. Okay. Wow. Yeah, they were. I know, right? But yeah, let's do this as well, just because it's appropriate here. Hold on. Yeah, the when, and the when, it might be something that is under seal. You know what I mean? Like, even, I don't know, that I wouldn't be surprised if the when is not knowable until after, they've done whatever they are doing and finished. You know what I mean? Because it's the feds. Like, everything federal is so different. You can't FOIA that shit as easily and stuff. I mean, well, okay, you can some stuff, but I don't know. And then, of course, whenever everything grand jury is secret anyway.
You would use a solo cup.
I'm sorry, what?
Objection, Your Honor.
Solo cup.
DSN, I really appreciate that. Yes. Yeah. Scrolling to find answers. I know, right? Like, it's a good thought because it still makes no sense. It still makes no sense. It really makes no sense. And the other thing I'm wondering too is the hockey connection, because there's something with the hockey. There's something, I mean, it gets wild how we don't know anything. And we've been in trial for freaking ever, it feels like here. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's like a romance thing. I mean, unless you count the romance between like Brian Higgins and Brian Albert Sr., half joking. But yeah, I don't know. The snitch thing is a good thought because that's where that could be a motivation for the law enforcement to be so involved, right? Because you know how they are with that type of thing. Well, we hear rumblings of it. I feel like Peter Tragos, where I'm like, which word is it? Rumblings, I think. Yeah, what was it? Last night, there was something I didn't know, and I did look it up, but it wasn't related to this case, but I did find the answer. That was for Needs Some Z's, who was here earlier. Like what I did, because we were talking, it's kind of related. We were talking about the cell phones because they all ditched their phones, right? And Needs Some Z's was asking some good questions about like when did they ditch their phones in relation to the Fed starting their investigation, which is related because we were like, well, we don't really actually know for sure when they started it, right? But Alan Jackson, I believe it is, one of the defense attorneys actually gives they don't give like a date as to the investigation, but they do give like a relative time of like, they do say like the phone, they're talking to Allie McCabe and they're like, yeah, the phone was gotten rid of or upgraded, rehomed before whatever happened with the federal, like whenever she went to the grand jury or whatever. And so then I was just researching for like the forensics, like if we know a lot about the forensics for cell phones from Murdoch, but what I didn't know is how that works if it's been rehomed. So I was looking into that. And so essentially, well, okay, so rehomed is like two things, right? Factory reset is the first issue. And then the second issue is rehomed. So if it's factory reset, it really seems to depend. Like they can get all the data sometimes, but it's going to, it's like a phone by phone basis, like we kind of saw, right? They have to like crack it, like get into the phone. But that's where the biggest challenge is if it's rehomed and they don't have the phone. They have to have the phone. So that's because I think what Needs Some Z's was really kind of trying to get to with that question was, are they going to be able to recover that data from everybody who rehomed their phones? That's the question. And my guess to that is they are trying. But it's a really good question, right? Because like that fucking matters, man. Because if they can't get, I don't know. All right, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. So Allie McCabe. Right. Yes, that's what I think you were gone, but we've already heard that part because we finished that part with Colin with the videos. And I was mentioning how Alan, and then, but also, dude, let me find the part here. He mentions that there's something that happened with the hockey team that very night that John O'Keefe, let me rewind it to that part. Let me see if I can make sure I remember where I am, because that comes up when Lolly's asking a bunch of questions that don't matter about sports ball stuff. And so I think a lot of people, including myself, missed that part, and it might actually matter. Let me see if I can find it.
The key side of the conversation, what, if anything, did he say?
It's from Kaylee. He was excited about her acceptance to,
before this part,
I believe he's drinking Bud Light beer.
Before this.
Can you recall the circumstances of that or how you came to meet her at that time?
Yes, I do.
And could you explain to the jury what were the circumstances? Where did you meet her?
John had reached out to my wife, Jen.
Before.
Yes, because they were dating, and he informed my wife has MS.
Or what, if anything, let me ask you this. As far as your relationship with Mr. O'Keefe is...
Hi, Super Planet Girl. Happy you're back.
Someone he was dating, or what was going on with someone he was dating's relationship, is that the kind of thing that the two of you would discuss?
It's after this.
The two of you were friends, correct?
Correct.
And brought up to the side.
Huh. You get water.
Oh, this part is so good. I love this. It's so worth watching again. Watching it again.
Now, sir, if I could ask, as far as Mr. O'Keefe was
Every
concerned, do
time
you
is
recall
great.
anything about what he was wearing that night?
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to find the part about the
I
hockey.
believe he's drinking Bud Light beer.
Okay, I need to go back further. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I'll find
When
it.
was it that you first met her?
Don't worry.
You're friendly with your brother-in-law, Brian Albert, correct?
Yes. Would be what I typically would drink.
Before the
Is that
crystal
correct?
light, I think.
That is correct.
And despite it being sort of your wife's car, was your phone hooked up to the
Aha,
speakers?
here we go,
Bluetooth
Bluetooth.
or anything like that?
I don't know if I connected mine to the Bluetooth.
What we're listening for, they have this whole long thing about the Bluetooth. We're listening for, he's going to actually say there was some sort of conversation about the hockey team. This is the same night that John died. This is, remember they had that basketball game and then they went to the waterfall. This is in between basketball game and waterfall. Something happened with the hockey team.
Or not.
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't recall if I was connected to the Bluetooth or not. I know my phone connects, so possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure if it was 100% connected that evening.
That's just so silly. That's like, I mean, come on, right? Like, if you've got a couple and you've got nothing and you make something up, like, yeah, you could make that, I don't know, like, oh, they were going to break up. Oh, I mean, no, it doesn't. Yeah, there's nothing. You know, what's funny is the prosecution's not actually presenting that, right? Like they must have decided it was stupid because they're not actually presenting that to the jury. At least not yet. Like, why would you be waiting, right? Like they're not showing all the evidence that they've brought forth through testimony. All of the evidence says they were getting along great and having a lovey-dovey night. So
Now, with respect to it being your wife's car, is there, when both of you are in the car, is there sort of a default as to which of your phones would connect to the Bluetooth, yours versus hers?
If look at it that way, it would be my wife's because it was her car.
here comes the
The
part
car
about
will
the
probably recognize her device over your device, correct?
That is correct.
okay, the hockey part should be coming right up. So the Collins videos, no, they're not from that night. They're from that same year. So they were close enough in time relative to the death to be allowed in. So he would have been 17. That's the other significance of it. And also it's relevant because there's like hockey shit happening that same year, right? And we know now we're about to hear it also that same exact night. So
Now,
Actually, I started the call definitely on my phone because my kids were in. I was on the call for a while, so I think I had my kids still in the car.
So during the voir dire, Colin tries to lie and say it's from sophomore year, but during the voir dire, it comes out. We already listened to that earlier, so it'll be time stamped. But in the voir dire, it comes out that like that video actually has a date and time, and like it's known to be from his senior year. And actually, Alan Jackson gives the exact date. I forget the exact date, but it's really close. Maybe just a month or something. It's really close. It's really close to when the murder happened. But Colin had tried to say it was from the year before to try to make it seem like he wasn't having an ongoing spat with people, I guess.
When I was dropping them off, so I wouldn't have them listening to the call. So I must have been on, again, I don't remember, but I must have been listening on my, holding it in my hand.
This phone call he's being all weird about is the phone call with something related to hockey, by the way.
and do you recall specifically what you were drinking on that night?
I do.
And what were you?
Oh, fuck.
I was drinking
Hold on.
vodka.
So they must mention the hockey earlier, and then he comes back to the phone call. Interesting. That's even weirder. Hold on.
Technology solutions for.
Because I know
And
that
how long have you been doing that?
beginning somewhere. Hang on.
And they did not win. They went into overtime and lost.
Okay, it's right after
Prior
this.
to you and your wife entering into the waterfall,
Here.
you recall what, if anything, you did, or who, if anyone, you were talking to in the
Here we go.
waterfall?
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here it is.
Yes, on the car ride from my house to the waterfall, and while I was in the parking lot,
Here.
I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone.
And do you recall just generally what the conversation was about?
Yes, I do.
And what was it about?
It was about my daughter,
Here.
my oldest daughter, Allie, who you
Allie.
mentioned. It was
Allie.
about her hockey team
This
and
guy?
her
Weird,
hockey
right?
coach. I was talking to one of the hockey
Weird.
coaches.
It's
And
this is a bit too coincidental for me, right? Because we like it wouldn't have mattered, but when you think about the fact that we've just seen the videos from Colin with he's got this beef with this hockey team, right? So we know that he's got the beef. We know that Allie plays hockey, and now we have something that seems like some sort of phone call. I don't know why Lolly brought it up on direct, but who knows what he did, what goes on in his head. It's a mystery. But we know that there's something that happens that warrants this phone call in between, right before they go to the waterfall, and it's about the hockey. It's just a bit weird, right?
when you were talking to this person, this is inside the car, is that correct?
That is correct.
And despite it being sort of a wife's car, was your phone?
DSN, are you saying you put it in the Discord? I haven't been on the Discord, I don't think yet today. So, but yeah. Thank you though.
Hooked up to the speakers? Did you have a Bluetooth or anything like that?
I don't know if I connected mine to the Bluetooth or not. I don't recall if I was connected to the Bluetooth or not. I know my phone connects, so possibly. I don't know for sure if it was 100% connected
y'all.
that evening.
I need to go. So we don't know anything more about the hockey. That was it. It's just something about the hockey, but we don't get any more information, which sucks. But let me go back to where we were. So okay, because we jumped back to hear that part. So did you guys what did you guys find anything from the feds there with your squirrel research going on?
My wife informed them that if they wanted to stay because we just got there, we would be more than willing to drive them home.
And fair to say, at this point in time, you didn't even know where Miss
His
Levinson or Miss
face is so
Nagel
weird.
lived, is that correct?
No idea.
You didn't really know what you signed up for as far as traveling home, is that correct?
Oh, well, Canton's not that big of a town, so I wasn't too scared. But yeah, I didn't know exactly where they lived.
Oh,
I knew they were
y'all,
from Canton.
I forgot about my new challenge that I'm trying to do, which is say something nice about every witness. So I haven't done that for him. So right. I also forgot for Colin. I don't know that I could think of anything for Colin, I'll be honest. Okay, for him, it seems like he's a dedicated father with 4 daughters. He goes to their sporting events. Okay, I did it. Yay.
Now,
Yay.
at some point, when Miss Nagel goes outside, what, if anything, drew your attention to the outside of the house?
When she went outside, or when she was
Very
opening the
good.
door,
Thank you.
her or
Yes.
somebody referenced that there was another vehicle out front.
And so upon hearing that, where did you go?
Upon hearing that, we just assumed that was obviously John and Karen. So
Y'all, I'm gonna have to find some clips of the Californians looking out the window and put it in the Discord. Y'all will die. This is all I can picture now, and it just adds a whole other layer of funniness to this whole window thing.
I don't recall if I looked out the window first or looked out the door first, but I looked out to
That
see
Twitter is my favorite because she likes his forehead, and I forget who it was. It might have been Caitlin. That she said she liked her shoulders.
the other vehicle out in front of the house.
So regardless if you looked out the window or you looked out the storm door at the front door, when you looked out, what if anything, did you see?
Seems like definitely.
I noticed the big SUV parked in front of the house.
And do you know what color the SUV was?
He's very
At the
animated.
time, I didn't. It was dark. I didn't know if it was a black SUV, a dark green, or dark blue, but it was a dark SUV.
And at the time, were you familiar
I love
with,
that they all say "bless you."
either
They do that in
of
Murdoch
the
too.
vehicles of Mr. O'Keefe and or the defendant, Ms. Reed?
Yes, I knew Karen drove a dark SUV. I didn't know the make and model. I just knew she drove a dark SUV. I'd seen it at pickup and things of that nature.
And did you know what kind of vehicle that Mr. O'Keefe drove around that time?
I think he had a smaller SUV. I don't remember the make.
Do you remember what
He
color
had
it
a.
was?
You know what? I don't remember the color of his SUV. He had another car too that he drove around. I remember that. That's about it.
And when you're looking out from either the window or the door, where was the dark SUV in relation to the house?
So they can control the windows or the doors. It's
If you
amazing.
came out that front door, pretty much right in front of the house, parked in front of the house.
Now, you mentioned that Ms. Nagel had left the house through the other door and gone outside, is that right?
That's correct.
And when you looked out, could you see Ms. Nagel or where she had gone?
No, there was another vehicle, again, coming out the front door. If you go to the left, there's a driveway. There was another vehicle over there. I don't know if it was on the street facing this way, if it was pulled in. I would just looked out the front door and noticed the car to be like, oh, that's John. That was my focus. I didn't look for Julie.
Now, as far as the other vehicle, did you observe at least enough to know whether or not it was behind the dark SUV, in front of the dark SUV, or something else?
Yeah, it was to the left. It was equivalent to where the driveway was. And then after the end of the driveway, there was a Jeep. And after the Jeep was the SUV, the dark SUV.
And with respect to, just from your perspective, you're looking out, so the driveway would have been to your left, is that right?
Correct.
Are you familiar with any other sort of like landmarks or anything else in the front yard area of your brother-in-law's house?
Yes. So you look out, the driveway's to the left. If you look to the right, there is an island of like maybe rhododendrons, something, bushes. There's a flagpole.
I love that he tries to name
Right
the
there,
plants,
there's a
you
utility.
guys.
I believe.
Guys, I think I've just figured that out. I think I've just figured it out. So you know how in Murdoch we had what the truck and we had chicken business? Here we have what the puck and we have window business. And here, look at where I paused it. That was not on purpose, but you know what? It's great. Wow. So I just was thinking about this. And remember, I've been joking since the very beginning of this trial, or since we started doing these recaps in week 2, I've been joking about how there's this cluttered time period. I had a funny name for it and I can't ever remember the name, but it was that time period where everything was like 12:10 to 12:15. And it was like, I had this whole list and it was like this laundry list of like 50 million things that all happened at that time. And I'm like, yeah, right. Like, this is just stupid, right? Like, yeah, right. And I just was thinking about this whole thing with the windows and the doors, and all this business about calling Brother Nagel and then changing her mind, and everything is at the same time period. But this is also the same time period when Jen is making those phone calls and potentially, as suggested by Alan, looking for his phone. And I'm getting the impression, because the prosecution's offered no theory, I'm getting the impression that the defense thinks that this is the time that John dies, which makes sense. Or, well, okay, sorry, not dies, because he's technically still alive, right, when they come. But, the whole thing. Because it makes sense, because it's when everything happens. It's when everything happens. And, like, I had that feeling from the beginning, but, like, it was just simply like, well, obviously this is a clusterfuck. It means something, right? But the part that was missing for me, my brain, was the window business part. Because that's everybody's alibi, is looking out the window. And when you take that and you combine that with looking for the cell phone, like we were saying, it changes this entire picture for everybody. Because they're all sitting there just looking out the window. I mean, wow, it really does. It really does. So now I'm like, man, so this is some window business, right? So yeah. Oh, Victor, good for you. Thank you. I really am so happy that you said that. Thank you. You did better than me, my friend, because I couldn't think of anything nice to say. And that was something that I had decided. I was like, I'm going to try to find, we're going to try to find some nice things to say about every witness. So well done on that. Yeah. Thank you. I think it's a good thing. Yeah, he did better on direct, definitely.
I believe it's a green utility box. I'm assuming it's utility, kind of on the edge. There's a fire hydrant. All that stuff was to the right side of the, looking out the front door.
Now, after you look out this initial time and you see this dark SUV sort of right in front of the door, was that the only time that you looked out, or did you look out on subsequent occasions?
No, I looked out again because it'd been a few minutes. Again, 2, 3, 4 minutes. I'm not sure how long, but it'd been a few minutes, and we thought it was weird they hadn't come into the house. Looked out and saw the SUV again.
And,
Always.
When
Always.
you looked out for the second time, where was the SUV in relation to where it was the first time?
The SUV had moved up the road from the front of the house. It went from spot A to spot B. Now it was further up, more in sync of where the again, the flagpole, the utility box, more in sync with that. It had moved up the road. Thought it was weird that they hadn't come in.
Now, you observe it initially in front of the door.
I'm telling you, they're all looking out the windows and the doors, and they all have different stories. And the weirdest,
That's correct. Yes.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's not as weird to me. Let's just say that they actually are just sitting there staring out the window, right? Or whatever. Like okay. It wouldn't be as weird to me if the only thing they had differently was, does the vehicle pull up twice versus 3 times or whatever? Like that to me, okay, fine. But the things that are hard for me to get around are things like it's facing a completely different direction. Or I think the biggest thing of all is the fucking I keep calling it a tow truck. Why? The snowplow, the Jeep with the snowplow. Like, hello. I mean, that's the thing for me that's like, how is there differing testimony? Because, and especially, Jen McCabe actually describes it as being parked between Brother Nagel's truck and the SUV, which, you know what? No one pointed this out today, means the SUV could not have pulled up at all.
And each of these times, you're not just standing at the door, or standing at the window, staring out the entire time, right?
No, just looking out, being like, what the hell are they doing? And
Pause everything. Hold on. There he is. You rang. Ask and you shall receive, my friends.
Going back to my seat.
And at other than those 2 times that you've
Exactly,
already
right?
testified about,
That's what
was
that's
there any
that's my
subsequent
that's my idea of a good time, just sitting there looking out the window.
times after that?
Yes, I definitely looked out a third time
Oh my
out
God.
the door.
And the third time that
Yeah.
you looked out the door, where was the dark SUV in relation to where it had been the second time?
Hey
It had
guys,
now proceeded further up the.
you guys, you want to come over to my birthday party? Yeah, sure, Bri. Bri. What are we gonna do? Just gonna. I think we're just gonna look out the window. Yeah, sign me up.
Road.
Oh, and then after that, guess what? My parents are gonna come home with their friends, because what's better than parents but parents with parent friends, and they're all gonna look out the window with us.
Past the flagpole, past the utility box, past the fire hydrant, more in line with
Yes, ma'am.
between the yards. I believe there's bushes and trees that separate the Alberts residence to the next residence. So it was actually past
the
the
Asian
Alberts
house.
residence and a little further up. I'd say more on the edge of the property line of the, if you're looking out of the neighbors to their right, if I'm looking out of their house.
Now, this distance between the second time that you saw it and the third time that you saw
Oh,
it, do you have
boy.
any idea about how much distance that was or how many feet?
Hey, I'd be guessing 30, 40 feet. I don't know. I have no idea. I'd have to measure it.
Now, with respect to the snow that had fallen on the ground, as far
I
as
don't know that song, but I mean, I've been talking about doing a version of "Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls," but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But like, there's not been an a riot in the chat over it not being there yet, so I figured I would just procrastinate, so that I have more time to put the videos together and shit, and also take care of my orchid babies. But yes, so I don't know that song, "Lolly Wally Doodle." At some point, I'm gonna have to do a song for the Bonnie Blue Flag. Shout out to the Bulge. Oh, from Disney. Okay. Okay, right. I know that. What's the other songs in that one? Oh dang, what's the love song that the foxes sing to each other? See, those are all my favorite in the Disney movies. I can't remember it off the top of my head, which is weird. Yeah, I know all the Disney songs. I know them all. Yeah, I just can't now. Now I'm blanking on the one they sing in the forest when they're all cute. Anyway, is it like oodle-ollie, golly, what a day? Is that the same song? Is that the right thing? I don't know that I can pull that off though. That's just not really my style. I don't know. What about, don't go chasing, like my initial idea was don't go chasing waterfalls and then like just stick to the cause and the bars that you're used to. But I don't know. Maybe that's stupid. Maybe we need a little inspiration. Anyone. It's not unusual to have killed your wife and son, but even God would never forget what you've done. It's not unusual to see you lie or pretend to cry. It's a house. It's going to be hard to beat though, guys, right? I don't even know. Like, that's why I'm like, I don't know, man. It's like, okay, I have a better idea. I was saving this, but I'll just go ahead and say it. You know, the song, I don't even remember what it's called. I guess it's called Yeah by Little John or whatever. Like, to the window, to the wall, till the sweat drips down my balls or whatever it is. I could rework that. I've actually done that before for wifey, who I think is probably fast asleep, and I don't blame her, when she had a request that I do like her favorite T-Pain songs. And I actually did them, like I did covers of them with guitar and singing, and I managed to like make them like serious, it was actually really fucking funny. Like it was funny because it was serious. It was like I was thinking about like, the girls shaking their booties on the dance floor, but like all serious. It was great. So maybe that's what I need to do. Skeet skeet. Like we can use like hockey puck themes and like windows and doors and walls. Flagpoles could be involved. Oh. I don't know. What do you guys think? Any tune is good. I mean, like, acoustic guitar, folk style version, right? Of like I could probably, if my guitar was tuned, I could probably get my guitar out right now and figure it out like live. Like I can already picture it. Bum, 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 bum. Like you could totally do that with the chords. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, we definitely do. If I pulled up the lyrics, I could easily come up with that. I'm sure there's easy ways to sneak that in. What if any? So whatever the lyrics are, I would replace them with things that follow the same rhyme scheme, but with this trial, right? So yeah, we have to. So for the chorus, windows to the wall is fine. The windows to the wall. Okay. Hang on. To the windows to the wall. To the missing cell phone calls. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Windows to the wall. Go to bed, Best Witter. Windows to the wall. Call. Ball. Hockey ball. No. Hockey puck. Basketball. Like the basketball games. We could always reference another thing too. Butt calls. There you go. That's it. Thank you. Of course. Thank you. How did I not think of it? I was thinking we could also make references to, I'm just thinking out loud, to like the crystal light. We got to incorporate the crystal light. That's key. Solo cups. We need the solo cups in there too, I think. Crucial. Lol. Very good. Thank you. Okay. To the windows, to the walls. To the windows, to the wall. Okay, hold on. Windows to the wall. And all is something Brian Arnold, something. Okay, butt calls. And then of course there's the butt dials as well. What if any lols? What if any lolly lols? Oh my god. This could get crazy. This could get insane. What if any lolly lols? I kind of like that actually. Oh my god. What about for the off skeet part? Should it rhyme with skeet? Probably. Do we have anything that rhymes with skeet? I don't know that we have anything. Skeet. Sleet. Sorry, I'm excited. Sleet. Oh my god, yes. Sleet, motherfucker. Sleet. Oh my god, yes. Sleet. Woo! That was not an easy one. I mean, feet, yes, but I don't think there's anything with feet. Okay. Sleet. Dude, yes. Oh, that's really good. That's good. I like that. Okay. Oh man. Oh man. Okay. Well, we can continue to work on the lyrics in the Discord and stuff, but I think I have a pretty good idea. I appreciate all of y'all's help. I don't know about that. I don't know if I can figure out a rhyme scheme for that one. Yeah, what if any and who if any. Yeah, all the different things. maybe some shoveling, the apron, the reds. Yeah. Okay. I feel very inspired though now. The all sleep for me tied it together in my brain to where now I feel like it's going to be really easy to come up with the rest. Okay.
The vehicle was
My
concerned moves from
wrap
one point
trigger.
to the second point to the third point. Do you observe any sort of tire marks or anything in the snow out on the road when you looked out?
Yes, I did.
That's
And
true.
the tire marks that you observed, do they essentially lead up to the back tires of the dark SUV that you saw out there?
At some point, when I looked out and noticed tire marks that would have started before the Jeep. So if the Jeep was here, so where it's just a weird, like a wave. It was a weird wave in the road.
You
You
know,
could see.
what are the odds that his wife takes a stand and describes it the same way? Why? How do I know this? Because I don't know if he's saying wave or weave because of the accent. It's the same thing with her. She said the same thing today. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Are you saying wave or weave? But like, either way, you guys definitely discussed this because like, you know, it's like the weirdest way to describe it.
The tire marks.
And was that before or after? So at some point, Miss Nagel goes out to some other vehicle and then comes back inside the house, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
You know about how long she was outside
You just
the house
reminds me of
for?
a cartoon character. Came from the bar.
I'd be guessing. A minute. I'm not sure.
Not terribly long.
There
time.
needs to
No,
be a bar
no,
called
no.
a sidebar. There probably is
So
though,
the
somewhere.
time that you observed this sort of
I would go there.
abnormality in the tire marks that you see out there, was that before or after she had come back inside the house?
Y'all are funny.
That would have been after.
Y'all are funny.
You don't know if that was from the dark SUV or the whatever vehicle she
That's a
had
nice way to
met. You have no
compliment her.
idea.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and make her call. I'm going to make an executive call because I've already been thinking about I'm going to struggle giving her compliment like I've been doing for everybody. I'm going to go ahead and say this counts as her compliment for the trial. We have it here on the screen that Jen explained it better about the tire tracks. There we go. Great. I love it. What time, if any time? Yeah, I think he actually says that though, doesn't he? At some point,
No, can you answer that? Well, the form of the question, it's
the waterfall box,
sustainable.
the pop the got side, the waterfall box.
Do you know which vehicle left those abnormal?
Oh, there's always the sheep joke, the good old sheep joke. You guys thought you'd never have to hear that one again, but that was the side bah.
Tire marks.
I laugh at how dumb it is.
Based off of where the tire marks were, they came off the curb. I would have, my assumption was it was the SUV.
I withdraw.
Okay,
I heard the answer.
Assumptions aren't going to work at trial, sir.
But you don't know, correct?
No, I didn't see the no.
And that was my next point. As far as when you saw the vehicle, as far as each of those 3 times, it was stationary each time you saw it, correct?
The first 2 times, definitely stationary. The third time looked stationary. If it was going a half mile per hour, I'm not sure, but it was further up the road.
So it looked stationary, but it might have been moving. Great. Y'all, I have some awful news. I hate to tell this to you guys because we're having so much fun and I don't want to go. I have to teach a violin lesson. So here's what I can do. I hate to tell you guys that. Like, I hate it. I wish I could stay here. Although I love teaching. But my student actually is preparing for a recital for her Suzuki Book 1. So here's what we can do. I have to end I guess technically I could keep the stream running, although there would be no point. I mean, I can't do anything. I don't know. I guess I should end it. So here's what I can do. I can end it and then I can start. So the lesson will be an hour and literally in an hour, I can start another stream and we can pick up exactly where we left off and finish this video as planned. Option number 2 is I can just include this portion from this video for the rest of this testimony as part of tomorrow's recap. Because so basically it just depends. I don't know how late if y'all are going to be up in an hour and want to, like, we can continue it. If not, we can just include it into the video for tomorrow. Also, just a reminder that for anyone, don't feel like you have to be there because EDB, I think, is going to be streaming it. But I'm going to be doing live, for anyone who didn't hear it earlier, 9:15 tomorrow. I'm going to be doing the testimony live for Jen on the stand and Carrie for as long as I possibly can until I have to go teach. So because I don't know. God, who knows how long Jen's going to be on the stand tomorrow? I mean, who knows? But yeah, so that's going to happen either way. In other words, there's going to be a recap tomorrow either way. I'm going to be there in the morning either way doing the trial live. But the question is, do we want to finish the rest of this testimony tonight? It's not that much left. It's probably just like an hour or less maybe left. Do we want to finish this tonight, or do we want to add this into tomorrow? Up to you guys. Yeah, don't adult. I know, right? Jen definitely wears the pants. There's no question. Yeah, no, that when he makes that joke about like the reason they're having good times because they're at the bar, I'm like, this has a different meaning to me now after meeting your wife. So what do you guys want me to do? Do you guys want me to come back in an hour, or do you want me to finish this testimony with y'all tomorrow and add it into the video for tomorrow? Totally up to you guys. I mean, I guess alternatively, we could just start early before the live trial. We could go at like 8 in the morning or something. I could do that if y'all wanted. I could do 8 o'clock or whatever, like pre-trial recap. It's like hardcore as fuck right there, but we could do that if y'all want. Okay. Well, all right. Got it. Roger that. Do you guys want to do it in the morning, or do you want to? Y'all are great. Okay. I appreciate y'all being here. We had a lot of fun. So I guess I'll probably just go ahead and just chuck this in. Okay. You can be there in the morning. Does anyone else want to do it in the morning? What's the song? You and me, maybe ain't nothing but mammals. We do it like they do on the Discovery Channel. Do you guys remember that song? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking of pre-trial, pre-game. Exactly. It's got to have like the tying it in with the sports ball references is key as well. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's like hardcore as fuck. I kind of love it. Like I'll see exactly how much I have left on the video, and like, yeah, okay. Well, I'll go ahead and plan. Y'all, that's so great. Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you for being here. Y'all are awesome. It was super fun. And let me go ahead and roll that outro. I'll see you guys soon. Love you guys. Thank you for being here and for being a squirrel.